The Microsoft ecosystem is evolving faster than ever. Copilot, Power Platform, security, modern work, Azure AI, new features every week, new opportunities every day. But learning is scattered. Events are expensive, limited, and difficult to access. That changes now. Welcome to M365 Con, the world's largest online Microsoft 365 convention. 2 powerful weeks, 1 week of workshops, 1 week of free global talks and keynotes. Build your own learning path with expert-led workshops. From Power Platform to security, from Copilot to Azure AI, you choose what matters to you. Then join over 60 free sessions with most valuable professionals, Microsoft trainers, architects, and innovators from around the world. Meet the community, explore the virtual expo, connect with experts, and be part of a global Microsoft experience. Accessible, global, interactive, and designed for every Microsoft 365 professional. M365 Con, your community, your learning path, your Microsoft 365 future.
Hello and a warm welcome to the M365 Con again. Today, here now with our second part on the Azure and Entra stage is Aru Shukla with the topic Secure Your Copilot Studio Deployments. The stage is yours. Have fun.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks so much for everyone. And I really appreciate that the Microsoft Con has given this opportunity for me to show what we can do with Microsoft platform. It's an amazing platform, I will say, right? So rather than share my things, I will share some demos. And I mostly believe in demos and also some theory, which is important for you to gauge, right? How things can work, right? A lot of questions people ask me about the licensing part, so I give a very brief how the licensing works in Copilot Studio. It's a keep ever changing, so I'll talk about that in shortly. Okay, so let me share my screen and then you just see whether you can see everything which I have to share. Okay, and right, Michael, you can see that you can see my screen, right? Marcel. Okay.
Yes, we see your screen.
Right. Yeah. Okay. Thanks, everyone. Right. So let me proceed with what I have for you. There are amazing speakers throughout. I know most of the people as they are common people which have interacted in the community events. But my topic is talking about how we can make our Copilot more secure, right? I will talk about some basics as well that is important to master, and then we talk about how we can make it your Copilot Studio applications more secure. That is super important. Okay, right. So the first thing first, maybe I've seen many sessions in last couple of years. Microsoft is always evolving with the new AI technologies from obviously from OpenAI to a lot of other new third-party softwares and models which we have like Mr. and Facebook Meta. Those kind of models are there, right? So we are flooded with a lot of agents and a lot of softwares, right? The AI agents which we can do. One thing which I keep sharing with the people in all my conferences and my session workshop which I do is that don't be worried about too much information. What I am firm believer of something called as a basics. If you know about basics of AI or anything for that matter, when Microsoft Teams came, it was something new, right? Everything you have to evolve with the basics. If you learn basics, then you can master. So my session is talk about the basics, but I will also talk about some really nitty-gritty of security, how your Copilot can work together. So we have something called as the front end, which the user can see. We also have backend, which is I will show about the purview, how the purview can ensure that your models and your AI apps are secure, right? That is a main agenda for us, right? So one thing to understand is that right now we are into era of agents, right? And the agenda is very simple. I don't make it very complex because the more things more complex, difficult to gauge the things, right? So we talk about how we can have our your AI agents into enterprise level, right? And then we talk about a very nice Microsoft AIT case study, which is a very interesting. And then we also talk about the security and the governance pillar. These are the three main pillars with three sections we talk about, and we make it simple, right? Rather than going to too complex, we talk about simple concepts so that you can easily understand and gauge it and appreciate that how the Microsoft is helping you to make your applications more faster and also secure, right? That we talk about that. Okay. Now, before I talk about, take a step back, right? What is an agents? Okay. Now, what I want to give you a very simple, simplistic view. What is an agent is that think about a simple program. Think about Excel, right? Yeah. So Excel is a very powerful tool, right? But when you what add something like AI add-on with that, like make much simpler, right? So what we can do is that think about Word document, right? So I'm talking about simple application here. Okay. When you talk about simple, you think about a simple query. Think about you want to write a Word um, summary for the 5 pages. Think about you want to have some theory about Microsoft Copilot, right? Licensing part and the infrastructure about the COE, how it works and all. But you don't have much information to do, right? Use Copilot inside that one, right? That is an easy thing to do, the most simple way to do it. And then you just able to generate a Word document with 5 pages or 10 pages, whatever you have, and then you will have a simple, pretty extensive details about the Copilot licensing, as well as your infrastructure, about your architecture, everything in one shot, right? Which you can give to your um, management or to your colleagues, right? It's simple. So that is a simple agent. That is what we use called as a retriever, right? We are getting information by a prompt, and that prompt will help us to retrieve the information, right? And that could be grounded, not grounded, is a different story or talking about. But this is the simplest way we can do. The other things we can do is a task based, right? So task based, think about you want to write a simple Power Platform, Power Automate agent, which you want to have something called as a you want to create an ticketing app example, right? Ticketing app. And then with that ticketing app, you want to give some access rights, everything to the maybe to the admins, one for the end users, and one for the your security team, right? So that is called as task-based um, uh, way, right, to do it, writing in agent. Okay, that is simple to do, right? And the slightly more complex, I will say, is called as a autonomous, right? What the autonomous means is that you work, think as a self-driving car, right? You don't do anything. Think about your riding a car, which is self-driving, and when school comes and then will stop. Something on those lines I'm talking about. I'm very oversimplified way, but this is something which you can able to understand, right? Now, if we talk about how the Copilot works in the Microsoft stack technologies, you think about you write a planner application, right? And it automatically assign tasks and send reminders to the all team members, right? Without doing anything. You write in a planner, give some task to you to the team members, and then you give the task independently, and then the task will be given to them directly without anything. So that is the autonomous. It's slightly more complex in the sense, but it will help you to understand, appreciate that how the three kind of things we can do. A simple way, a task retrieval part, and autonomous. That is simplest way we can do it, right? And then this is something which we can easily appreciate, right? This is something which the AI can help us, right? I'm not talking about Office document in general. You can talking about the Azure set of technologies. You can have Copilot in Power Platform as well, whether it's a planner or your other Microsoft Power Apps, Power Automator, even the chat code Quadio Studio. You can write an app and deploy or secure into your applications inside. That is the use of the agent. So in general, the agent will help us to automate, execute your business processes alongside with a person or without a person. Okay, that is the use of agent. Okay, now what we can do is that for the end user, now talk about Microsoft stack of technologies, right? What Microsoft help us is that um, we have a different kind of different kind of personas. Okay, personas are very important to understand, right? Personas means like people who are end users. Your business users will be using your application, right? So here what we can do, I can show you some examples that I want to create a simple invoice applications, and I'm not a Excel coder. I'm normal business user who know about everything about business. So what we can do with no code, we can write a Copilot agent. It could be deployed in SharePoint or into Microsoft Teams. So that is called as agent banker with no code required. Okay, then we have some power users. Power users are people who actually make applications. Think about in your organizations, you have people who are slightly more technical, and they can know some stuff and they can write code, but not very pro code kind of level, right? I have seen many people in many organizations. They are amazingly people good in the application, but they have not trained as a coders. So those are the people who we can target, right? And where we use called as Copilot Studio, the topic for us, right? And the last part is a pro code, where you can see that the Visual Studio Code, Azure AI Foundry can be used. Now this is changed in last Ignite, but you can change a lot of things, right? So this is something which we can do. Okay. Now, before I proceed, I want to share something which is very important. Is about the licensing part, right? Now, Aro, why we're talking about securing of your Copilot, but why you're dealing with the licensing part? You just hold on. Why I'm telling you these things, because this topic came multiple times when you do a sessions, and many people ask me that Aro, security is one thing, but how we can get started with the Copilot Studio if we don't know anything, right? How we can do it? So why I'm adding this thing in this particular picture is because once you understand how the Copilot licensing works, then you're going to do a trial, you can do it. Okay, that's something to understand, right? Now, at high level, right, what Copilot Studio help us to do is share us about the different services, right? So we can have something called as pay as you service, pay as you go service, and you get some credits, right? Again, I explain the credit. I have a very simplified way to do it, and each credit you think about as a 0.1 USD, right? So think about you have a chatbot and you want to interact with him, right? So that how a credit actually entails is that when you give confirmation that can you tell me what is the price of Copilot licensing, right? That is one transaction, right? One session. Then the Copilot Studio will give you some examples, and then it can be done with that way. So you have three conversations, and then you can use that one credit for this, right? That is an example to do it. So one thing is that once you answered that question, then Copilot give you different kind of scenarios, right? So you want to ask more questions. Yeah, again, you ask Copilot or ChatGPT, is ask for more questions. So which you ask more questions, then the credit will be increased, right? So you can do something called as a Copilot credit packs, which is easy to do, slightly more simpler, rather than thinking about how much I have to get credits. That is something which we can show in my demo as well, right? Now, one thing to understand is that when you have a Copilot, when you have Microsoft 365, you already have a Copilot inside, right? Chat. Microsoft Chat is free, right? So the thing is here is that when you have a Microsoft 365, you already have some basic things which are limited technologies, right? Limited. Why is limited? Because you can't create lot of applications inside. Example, I want to create a Word, Excel. I want to have my own data from my organizations. You can't do it. So chat is useful, but not maybe not useful for your own things, your data, right? Your own personal, your professional data, right? Your work data, right? Then it's included into Copilot, right? Copilot is also good, but you have to add some add-ons, right? Now the third way we can do is using a pay as you go, okay? And that is you have full features inside, okay? And then I mentioned to you that you will get some Copilot credits packs through which you can have all your features to be done. Now it looks very very complex, but when you go started with the journey with Copilot, licensing is a key thing to understand. Okay, okay, that is something to understand, right? So from here, from limited to maximum, we can go. Depends how much you have to pay, and this is a it's not a very it's very quite a costly for small organizations, right? Thinking about only 500, 300 users, it's very difficult. Okay, right? Now there's some people can use I can use a Copilot in Teams. Yes, you can do it. The problem with that, you don't have Gen AI features. Generative AI features are not there, right? You can publish only in Teams. You can't publish outside. So this is some limitations which you can understand when you have people ask me that can we use Copilot free of cost? The answer is yes, but distancing you have lot of limitations, right? You can't publish. There are no Gen AI features included, so you can use it, but they're very limited features, right? So if you want to use the pay service, then here to this per credit you will get is $0.1, and the full pack you get for $200 per month for 25,000 credit per month. That is something which is pretty costly. Yeah. So, sorry, not per year. So it's per year. Sorry, it's a mistake here. It's per year, right? It's very expensive, right, for that. So it depends on how you do it. What I've done is I've created a very simplified way to uh, uh, the guide. It's a visual guide so that you can appreciate, right? So here, this is a licensing guide which I it is now not updated. It's August, but you can see the licensing uh, overview of that or Copilot licensing. Okay, some things have changed a lot these days, but a basic thing you can understand, right? When you have a basic overview of licensing, you have a different licensing models, right? I mentioned to you in my slide that you can have a pay as you go meter, and then it's a no upfront commitment, and so per message you have $0.1 USD. Again, USD talking about. Okay, then you can have a pack you Copilot the packing subscriptions. That is a $200 per month. That is pretty costly, but if you want to use it, you can use it. Yeah? So that is something which you can use it, right? And then you have a free license, right? So when you use free one, you have a limited rights to publish it, and then you get only interactive answer, not all the answers, right? So this is something to understand. And when they use Copilot Studio and Dataverse, then same thing applies for your capacity, right? When you use Power PAPS or Power Automate, right? You have to pay $20 or something. It depends on your licensing model. So why I'm asking this kind of questions is because many people ask about how the licensing works. It's not free. It's not free, but you can put trial things, and then you can do the trial version for that. Okay, that is at least you can see how it works for you. I have a license for 1 month, but now I don't have license, but I can show you how it works in the security point of view. Okay, okay. Now let's talk about something the Microsoft IT, how they use it. So I mean, this is something which I want to share with you that these are the Microsoft expense, right? How much Microsoft global landscape you can see, right? So you can see that every day, monthly, you get around 6.6 million millions of transactions session you get, right? One drive for work. A lot of things you can think about. Number of partners are very huge as well, right? So the thing is, you can see is that Microsoft global landscape is huge. We have a lot of employees in Microsoft. Up and down, they are having adjustments, but you have around 220,000 employees in Microsoft. I mean, full-time employees. You have these vendors and physical. I mean, you can see the scale of Microsoft is huge, right? And the thing about it doesn't matter whether it's a small company of 20 people or is as big as I have worked with a company called it's a very large telco and in Southeast Asia, and they have around 50,000 seats users, right? It's pretty and it's a lot of things they are using. So it totally based on how you want to scale your landscape in terms of Microsoft technologies, right? Okay. Now, before I proceed about something, is I want to give a very high level agent architecture, right? We talk about the, let's recap. We discuss about the what is an agent. Okay. Then we talk about the use cases of agent. We can talk about the end user. We talk about the power user. We talk about pro code, right? Now we get step down. We go something level up where we see the agent architecture. Now it's generic. It's again it's just on Microsoft. The you have any cloud provider, they have the same kind of tool set. Okay, let's focus on that, right? So first thing is a foundation is always your LLM. So large language models, whether using Llama, you can use Claude, anything you can use. These are the foundation models, right? And depends on how you use it, right? This is and this is the base. This is the thing about the foundation for that. Okay. Then we have something called as an orchestrator, right? Now it could be your brain, yeah. It could be your Microsoft Copilot or OpenAI ChatGPT, right? Now think orchestrator as your brain, okay, and it works seamlessly with your foundation models, right? That is something to understand, right? And then we have something called as a user experience, right? So I want to interact with the user. I can't directly talk to the LLM, right? I have to have some kind of a layer through which I can interact. It could be my website, it could be Microsoft Teams app or your own custom app, right? So you can see first we actually interact with the LLM. Then we have orchestrator. We talk about the brain. This is the brain of your AI agent, right? And then we have a user experience. This is the thing which we have to understand that this is how the cycle works. Okay, and then what we have something called as a knowledge. Now knowledge, it could be your public data, it could be your financial data as well, as your example hospitals, or think about your financial banking, right? They have own personal data which just has to be secure, right? So it could be your knowledge, right? So if we want to have something very highly confidential information, then you have to use a private cloud, or you can use it. Obviously, you can use Microsoft Cloud, Microsoft technology as well for that, right? So it can work on that, right? The other skills is, I'm just going back here. Then we have something called skills. RO, what is the skills we're talking about? Skills is your actions, right? What can perform, right? Example, I'm talking about want to have an IT agent, right? That is my skill, right? Or I can be a travel agent, or I could be an HR agent, right? So these are the all different kind of agents we can do it. I can perform, right? And then last part is the we can have something called as autonomy, right? Example of self-driving cars, right? So self-learning we can do, right? So example I give you is something that's a thing that IT support, right? I think about this an example. I give us now you see the entire architecture. Think about how it will work. So we think about I give an user experience that my laptop is become slow. Okay, and then the agent will give me some things, some kind of a diagnostic. Um, uh, Again is something, please you can restart your laptop. This is a simple one, right? But if I use autonomy, right, self-learning, what will happen? It will ask for can you please follow up what's happening, and did you update anything, or did you install a patch on your word server, right? So this is something which we can do. So autonomy is something is very complex but really helps the organization. Okay, now talk about the agents now, Microsoft things, right? Now what we can do, we can have a in Microsoft stack, we can have a OpenAI, we can have a cloud also, right? It's something which can do. We can use a Copilot, and we can use user experience with this, right? So this is something which I showed you, that you can use any channel in Copilot Studio. You can have multiple channels. You can have Teams. You can have WeChat. You can have a website, the custom app applications, and then that application can be used for your enterprises as well, right? Okay, this is something why I keep focusing on the basics, is because if you learn basics, they can master the other stuff as well, right? That's something I'm talking about, right? Now let's go to we learned about the agents, we're talking about the personas, we're talking about the architecture. Now talk about security, right? Aro, we talk about so many things. Now when we talk about security, now this is the topic we're talking about. Now don't worry, I have demos for that, so you can have clear understanding how the things works. But what happens is that when you're learning, working on any platform, whether you're working SharePoint, Power Platform, security for any organization is a paramount, right? You write them simple applications, maybe SharePoint applications, something with that, but it has a lot of issues, a lot of challenges you're facing with the end users. Your app will never will float. Your C-level people will never appreciate it, right? So most important thing is that security for any platform, just not Copilot Studio, any platform, security in Microsoft is paramount, right? And then what we have to understand is that the control, right? So we have an environment strategy, who can do it, any kind of cost management required, any certifications for the workflows we had do. Those things can be easily do if you have a proper framework. So framework is very important. Without framework, it's difficult to do it. And the other part is about the adoptions, right? Now we have I work in many large organizations, and then they use a tool. The tool is a Power BI, and then nobody liked it because the UI was very good, but thing is that how to use it, the end user didn't like it. So we have to change our strategy, give a small quick wins to the users about the IT department, to the operation department, how they can use Power BI, and then just after a couple of months, and then people using the Power BI reports for across all the departments, the finance department, operation department. So if you want to adopt any platform, just not Copilot Studio, adoption is key. Yeah, people pay for the adoption, not for other things as well. So security and governance is super important for your organizations. Yeah. Sorry, I just go back here. Okay. Now I'm just talking something more in depth thing, is that when you work on the AI environments in Microsoft, right, you have to interact with many things, right? So first thing to understand is that your activity, right? And users, think about a very large organization with 10,000 users, each one using Edge browser, and some using Android versions. They're using some other Linux systems and all. So difficult to do it. So we have to see the activity, right? Then because if you're deploying your different um, AI models, then you have to protect your data. Very important, right? So data exposure is a very important here. Then whether your data is proper, is governed properly, we have proper uh, framework for that, then how we can respond to the risk. So these are something which we can easily do in using something called as a Microsoft Purview. Okay, it's different story, but something we're talking in my demo zone. Okay, so AI activity you can use using Explorer. You can use some Microsoft DRP policies. So whether you, if some data somebody leaked information, and then you can easily notice that somebody from the senior management have leaked the data, example, or a normal person have leaked the data. Then we are able to see as a monitor. We can monitor the things, right? And then we can also respond with the risk. So these are something very easy to do, and again, no coding required. Is some to understand that how your AI environments, specifically in your Azure AI or your Copilot Studio AI features, how you can protect it. Okay, okay. Now, before I go for the things, right, I just want to give you a glimpse of Microsoft Purview. Now, Microsoft Purview has a add-on, which is not a free thing. You can use for 90 days, or you can renew again, check the things whether features works. But it's amazingly good if you want to have assign some kind of security controls, any encryptions you can do very simply. I'm telling you why Purview is so important is because any your AI data, right? Any AI data can be easily leaked if you don't have any security, and the Purview is a security compliance tool for that. So Microsoft Purview is something which you ensure that your data is always secure, right? Then we can have auto labeling, we can have DLP policies and endpoint protection, right? So when you do any, think about very sensitive app, right? Think about financial data app, right? You must want to understand that your data should be secured only for the people who are into finance. No one else, whether it's IT operations, no one else should do it. So we have to do some kind of application, some kind of security for this. And in Microsoft Purview is just like a wizard through which we can configure. Simple and easy. Okay, all right. So rather than going to this thing, I just give you a compliance in that how it works, and then we work on the actual demo. Okay. Okay. Let's see. We are talking about step-by-step thing, right? First to you, right? Now this is the Copilot Studio, right? And you can go for this link, search for copilotstudio.microsoft.com, and then it will work for you in the sense that this not default. Example, if I search for my office.com and I search for apps, right? You see it's not there, right? It's a kind of add-on, right? And something which you can do easily see that, okay, this is something which I can do, right? The chat. So chat is free. All the people who have Microsoft 365, the Copilot chat is free for you, okay? And because I'm using my organization data, this is my data is protected, okay? Okay, and you can see one thing to note that it's not here. So I have to type in an URL which is called as a copilotstudio.microsoft.com, and then it works on the Power Platform environment. You see here that I have a couple of environments, 1, 2, 3, 4. Always recommended to have your own environment, sandbox environment to test the features. Okay, yeah, creating a Power Platform environment is free. Okay, you can just do it. Right now, think this right. I want to create a simple applications. Okay, I want to create a simple application. In this application, what I want to do, I want to create a new app, right? So app I want to do it is like I want to show that I want to create. Yeah. I can do from here. It's a something called as a very easily can do like pages which you can do. You can click from here, or I can describe this. Please create a Copilot Studio licensing agent for me. Okay, we can do this way. Yeah, I mean telling you it's no coding required. Or else what I can do, I can just create directly inside the agent. So what I can do both. I can do here, I can do here. So I just click on here. No, both ways I can do. So I create an agent here. Okay, right? And the agent, what I can do is that I can define my business processes, right? What I want to do. So I define this is my agent. Same thing which you showed previously, I can just define here. Okay, and this is the agent because I'm not published it, so it doesn't work here, right? I have to publish here something. And what I can do, I can use my model. Now, one thing to understand that earlier, Microsoft is totally based on the OpenAI models. Okay. Now, what we can do is that we can see slightly more other models as well, right? Obviously, we have OpenAI models, which is the ChatGPT of Open1 to Reshmee. Now we also have Claude, Sonnet and Open. We can use anyone, but again, these are experimental. Don't use in production. Yeah, never use in production. I have many users who told me that RO is working for me. It will work, but thing is that Microsoft will change the model, that will break for you. So always. So I'm using a new testing environment. Okay, and then what I want to do, I want to do I want to M365 con Copilot agent, licensing agent. I want to learn licensing, right? Because licensing I told is quite a bit complex, right? What I can do is that I can just do it here and just type, right? So I put a description, how the Copilot should do. This is very important because the Copilot, your agent should be knowing more information about the description, what it does. So it's very important to add description. Now what I've done, I've shown you the model. Then I can add triggers and I can do instructions. Okay. Now what is trigger? Trigger, this is like your if you know about Microsoft Power Automate, right? I can add some different kind of features. I can add when my agent works, please send an item in SharePoint, or when a planner is executed. So this is something we are working on the autonomous kind of level, right? I took a we can create simple, but we can also put autonomous as well. So this is something is a slightly more complex scenario we can work on, right? Now, instruction is very important. It's because when you know about instructions, right, it's easy for your agents to know because you can work for other agents as well, right? So what I can do, I can put an instructions here, okay, and I save. Okay, yeah. So that is something. So I'm just telling you that very easily we can save my things. Again, everything we are doing is using the out-of-box features, no coding required, right? Yeah. Now, one thing to understand is like I want to add knowledge. I mentioned to you in my architecture, right? The knowledge. What can we do? We can add some data. We can add some things there. So what I can do in the knowledge point of view, then I can add some files, or I can go to SharePoint, Azure, AI Search, Dataverse, or all other ways, right? This is simple example. So I just create a new licensing right here, uploading it, and then it will take some time. So I will add to my agent, right? Now, Aro, this is simply way. Can you show about security part? Yes. What want to show it to you is that this is the basic thing to understand, right? So once you build this application, then you will think about security. So what we are doing, part one, part two. Part one is your user interface, right? Once they have a user interface, then we can make your application more secure. So what I'm doing is part one. We're adding the basic agent features. Then we talk about security part as well, right? So if without, again, basics is important. So I work on the basics and then work on the security part. So backend part is a purview which I told you. Okay. Now what I can do, I can just go and ask my agent, right? So I can just now you can see I have to put my rename, right? I'm the licensing guide, right? So what I want to do is that I want to ask a questions. My question is that what are the free and paid features in Copilot Studio, right? So I can, when you click on this, you see it's still loading, right? It's still loading, so I can still ask questions to that. So when you click on this, oh, I think because I think it's still loading, right? So let me show you what is. Let me see again. So I think it still takes some time. Yeah, I think it's still loading, but I already created something for you because I know it takes some time and to save time. So what I've done, I already created an agent just 1 hour back. Okay, licensing model, same thing, right? Now you can see that that data is already there, right? You can see I have already added that thing. You can add any other data also, right? You can Azure search, you can do SQL search, you can add, no problem with that, right? So I add this question, I do this question here because it takes at least 20 to 25 minutes to load up there. Okay, something's happened here, so I think I have to re-trigger my instance. Yeah, that is already there. So let me search what are the paid features and that's it. Oh, I think this is something issue with the agent. This I think this is something common error that like at times the agents got blocked sometimes because I'm doing a lot of testing, right? And if I click publish, right, I will get this thing because I don't have license, right? Yeah, so that's it. But I want to show something to you that where when you publish, right? Let me show you. See, this is the thing which I publish. So if I ask for the agents, right, because I already created a question, right? You see, it's published, so it will have all the questions answered in that. Why? Because it's already published. So all the questions which I'm asking, right, I can do work on that. So let's see here. Yeah, basic licensing queries. You see? Oh, super, right? Right? And also, what about Teams? Can I do using Teams? Right? So I can, you see, all the questions because it's coming from my PDF document, right? See. Now, what about paid? I can take paid one. License from the get from Microsoft. Currently is not available. Okay, you see. Yeah. So right now, what happened, right? The agent is not available because the usage limiting. So what happens, right? Like when you do this, lot of things. I mean, if you know about ChatGPT Plus, also, if you don't use a lot of queries, it will exhaust, right? Now, I can do. I actually also post it in my Teams also. So what I meant to tell you that we can do similar things when you publish. You can publish to many channels. So in my example, I want to do the similar thing. What are the licensing which I can use in Microsoft Teams, right? I click on this. Okay, I think that is the issue with my agent. I just go with that. Okay, I think that my limit is already over for this day. But you get the point that if you want to publish, right, this way you can do it. You can just publish it out in this way, right? Now, what I'm showing you is end user point of view, the thing, right? But the security, what we have to do that we can do a lot of. I mentioned about orchestration, right? So you can use the dynamic one with your knowledge, or using classic organization. So when you use Microsoft Teams, is using the the classic one. It doesn't use the Gen AI way of doing it, right? And you can also able to format the responses and models as well, right? Now, one thing to understand is that about the security, right? Security is a paramount, right? So when you do any kind of your Copilot Studio publishing, right, there are different ways we can do. We can do authentication using Microsoft. Okay, with Power Apps, this is default. Okay, then second is your no authentication, which is using it for public. Think about creating an awareness app in across the globe, maybe in Asia Pacific or into Europe, example. That is a public facing app, right? And then what you can do, you can define a user to log in into your Microsoft Azure ID, right? You have the client ID and then login and authentication. So using Azure, you can do authentications. So these are the different ways you can do secure a app, right? There are 100 ways to do an applications, but for the Copilot Studio standpoint of view, you can do a lot of things in fact. Okay. One more thing to understand is that because when you work on the Copilot Studio, you must be knowing about the Power Platform. So you can create your own custom entities and we can secure them as well. You can add the skills. You can add skills. Right now we know skills, but you can add the skills as well. One thing to understand, many people ask me questions that can your Copilot Studio or your agent can talk in multiple languages? The answer is yes, you can, right? You can have voice enabled and you can have any language you can go for. You can go for German, you can add for maybe for Hindi language, a lot of languages you can add, right? So your agent, your co-chat, your chatbot can talk multiple ways. Think about global organizations. They have the offices across the globe. So you can pick and choose where you want to do deployment on. Okay, all right. Now, one thing to understand is that the last topic I'm talking about is protection, right? So because I published, right? So my agent is protected. Why? Right? Because it have no threats right now. Because think about the when he uses app your app for many months, right? Then a lot of people will try to like bad actors, right? Like the hackers, they will always try to have some threat injection with some ad policies and add some kind of a really bad data thing. Well, so you can use it for that. So your my app, my security is already protected by this. Why? Because I'm using the purview, right? My authentication is secure and my data, you see the policies here, I'm already secure. So all my data is protected, right? My data, anything which is there. This is testing, so that's why you can't see much. But if your data is very, think about you have created agents across the globe, then you will always have some kind of security issues with that. So this agent will help us. Now, what I'm sharing with you is just from the Copilot Studio security standpoint. Okay, there's something called as a backend as well, right? So if I go to backend, right? Let me go to backend. Let me go to here. So purview. In purview, is think as a it's a backend. Why is backend? Because not all the people in the organization have access to your purview portal, right? Think about developer, right? He can do create an app in Copilot Studio, but he may not have access to your Azure compliance portal, which is a purview, right? So important thing to make note is that if you don't have access, you have to ask your management or any person to that I want to do some testing and then maybe give you a test bed to test your Copilot Studio and your Azure features purview. Okay. Now, assuming that you have access to your purview, I want to show something very important, right? Now, one thing to understand is that what we can do is that we can do auditing, we can do data life management, we can do data postures for AI. Lot of things you can do. I give you just two examples that you can understand, right? Now, what I want to do, I want to show you that if my I create an app, right? I create an agent, right? I want to see whether it was have any kind of issues or somebody have attacks on that, right? So what I can do, I can go and search for maybe in last few months any attacks happen. And what I can do, I can search for something called as a, because we are working with the Copilot Studios area, right? What I can do, I can just go and search for Copilot interactions, right? What I mean Copilot interactions means I interacting with the Copilot Studio with my end user, right? That is interaction. So any app that which I'm trying to interact, that is a translation interaction with that. Now it could be plugin, it could be anything, or it could be anything we can talk about. So that this could be your prompt book, or it could be a workspaces. So I can add more things inside, right? I can add my own username. Maybe I am the one who are trying to attack, right? No, this could be anything. So to have, I can have wild, a very large number of the users. My end user, I want to think that any kind of attack happens in my environment, right? So if I click on this, I've already done it. You can see it takes 50 minutes. So I won't waste your time. I want to show you that how we can do it. Click on this. You can see that it has some kind of interact with the Copilot, right? Because I did some testing. When you click on this, you can see that what is my IP, what is my interaction, what I did, everything, which area I'm coming from, all things can be easily stored there. So that is something, again, this is very simplistic because I have not much data. But if you have large data, really large data, multiple organizations, then audit search will be very important. Again, Purview have a different kind of SKUs. We have a standard and we have a advanced. So I'm not going to that level, but thank you. Just sharing with you that in audit search, we can do slightly more in-depth knowledge, in-depth search for the things interaction with the your Copilot Studios activities. Okay, that is one thing we can do. The other things we can do, we can create it something called as DLP policies, right? So let me click on the DLP policies and this, see, right? So here something called as a DSP, right? Data posture management for AI, right? Now think about my end user. You have the user use case that I should not have um, uh, any Google or Azure applications in my portal, example, right? So this we can do very simply by adding policies, right? So using that policy, I've already done it. I just want to show you because it takes some time to load up. So I can create a DLP policies inside my data collection production. You see here again, it's a backend service, and it takes some time to understand these features because there are lot of complex configuration is there. I'm giving you an overview only. So when I click on this feature, block sensitive app. So example, I have something which is a user want to interact with the AI things, and I want to restrict only Copilot Studio or Microsoft AI you can use. They can't use Google AI or Azure AI or Amazon AI. Then I can do it. I can change some any kind of alerts, or I can add it the my policy with that. So what I want to tell you is sharing with you that you can add multiple ways to protect your data using the protection using Copilot Studio security, which I showed you. You can use a lot of other ways to do it, and the most better way to do it using the Purview way, right? So what we can do here is that we can add a lot of content here, right? We can add the features, all the sensitive data, whatever we can do, and then show it to the users, right? How it will work in that, right? This is the already created policies. We will take some time, but if I want to add something, Disky detect users using the API, right? So maybe somebody using AI features, but not using the company portal, right? Not using the things, using some VPN, then you can able to detect. So this is something very important to understand that using the, I mean, it's a long time to discuss, but you can do a lot of features with this. Now, before I want to end this thing, is that there's something called as a certifications which Microsoft had done, which is called as AI 900 certification. So what I shared with you is 50% is part of that certifications, right? Again, not too much details in that, but how you can see, how the Copilot agents work, administrations, a lot of things inside you can see in that one, right? So if you want to, in the beta, maybe in the February and March, it will be into GA. But what I want to show you that if you want to learn more about the agents and things, this is the best way for Microsoft to what is the agents, how we can interact. Again, licensing model, I'm big fan of licensing because they keep changing, and also we can actually and tell your customers that okay, how it will work, right? So very important to understand that how the Copilot Studio in administration work in general as a base, right? So just want to share that I'm close my just done with my session. Anyone have questions? You can just ask me right now.
Yeah, really amazing session, Aro, I think. So thank you. Really competitive and comprehensive. You pointed out a lot of security parts. So yesterday was Emilia Lumblatt here in our show, and she shows some further settings like Defender has security settings too, and Entra has now an agent security settings. So there's so much settings for Copilot Studio. It's not so easy to handle in a big company. Or what do you think about it?
Yeah. So that is something which I want to share that when you have a large organizations, right? Like when I work in a Microsoft in Singapore, right? I was full focused on the Power Platform and AI part, right? I don't have much information about other stuff, but the thing is, right? I have so much exposure to very large customers, and then I learn from them, right? And I have lot of black belt people who are give the knowledge and all. So you were overwhelmed with the knowledge, but thing is that it's good for your learning as well, right? So I'm not in Microsoft, but thing is that we have to keep learning. So that is something which is overwhelming, but I think it's a you have to in Microsoft it's something called as a growth mindset. So if you don't grow, you won't be surviving. So that is a philosophical.
Yeah, a good last sentence, I think. So I want to thank you. So we have only 2 minutes left for the next session. So the next session is with me as a moderator and with Reshmee Auckloo and Dimitri Chitov, and be talking about PowerShell automation versus ScriptRunner. I think this could be an amazing show format because we have two guests and one host. So I want to thank you, Aro. I hope we see us again. And have a nice day.
Thank you, Margaret. Thank you. Bye-bye. Thank you. See you, everyone. Bye-bye.
Welcome back to the M365 on Azure and Entra stage. I'm Marcel Bosch, and today we are tackling a topic every IT admin and developer faces: the challenges managing PowerShell automation at scale. We are comparing manual PowerShell automation with enterprise-grade ScriptRunner integration. Thank you to our sponsor, ScriptRunner. Dimitri, a warm welcome to you. And I have two exceptional guests today. First, I want to introduce Reshmee Auckloo. Warm welcome to you. And I said Dimitri here, so this was a man first woman. So me. Dimitri from ScriptRunner, warm welcome to you too. Reshmee, let's start us. You've been deep in the Microsoft ecosystem for years. What's your background with PowerShell automation, and what made you passionate about helping organizations automate their processes?
Yeah, hello everyone. So I've been working on, so I'm currently working as Modern Workplace Consultant at Vanard, but I've started working like with PowerShell ever since I started working with Microsoft products, mainly SharePoint 2013, like a decade ago, like on-prem. I remember like starting writing scripts, mainly like to automate like the provisioning process of SharePoint side, because at that time, like when I started, I remember like we're being tasked like, okay, you need to create all those artifacts, like helicopter types, libraries, everything manually. And it was painful and it was like prone to errors, like especially if you had to repeat the process on the dev, UAT, prod. And I remember like even like when you try like to copy like a column name and you paste it, and if it's like a manual process, if ever like there is like a trailing invisible space and it's just like messed up like the whole process. So having like an automated process really helps in terms of having like a repeatable process with less errors. So ever since I've written loads of PowerShell scripts which I've shared onto the PNP sample scripts, which is on the GitHub repository. So in case if you have like any problem, any issue, please do visit and have a look. At the same time, because like right now, like PNP PowerShell is like my favorite PowerShell module, which I use mainly because it makes it so easy. I remember back in the days, a decade ago, I was writing like a PowerShell script like with CSUM, which was quite complex. But now with PNP PowerShell, it just abstracts all those complexity and to make it like easy for someone like to start writing and developing in it. And since last year, I'm kind of pleased like to announce I'm part of the maintaining team of PNP PowerShell with the amazing maintainers who have worked on that particular piece of technology for more than a decade since SharePoint Online, and really happy like to take it forward and to improve, just to keep continuing my contribution. And one thing I would say to the audience, if ever you have like any issues, any ideas, any improvements, do contribute. Even if you want like to open pull requests, it's all welcome. It's for the community, so please do help.
Amazing. Reshmee, everything. Reshmee, so yeah, I really like it because I think so I'm the graph guy and you love PowerShell. That's why. So I love, but PowerShell is really cool. Dimitri, tell us about your journey about PowerShell and ScriptRunner, so you can combine that.
Yeah, hello everyone. I'm Dimitri. I'm a senior system engineer on customer success at ScriptRunner, and I myself been in ops for years now. I help our customers to plan, deploy, and run PowerShell automation so it works safely and at scale. More and more organizations are realizing now that PowerShell isn't optional anymore. Literally, a lot of work only happens through scripts now. You don't have GUI for crucial elements. You cannot set up something like Exchange Online without knowing PowerShell, without using PowerShell. So I help teams stop doing manual steps, centralize the scripts, and set up secure delegation and change control. ScriptRunner lets teams run and share script with limited access and full audit logs, so non-experts can use automation without breaking anything or rely on a single guru in the organization.
Yeah, that's right. So when organization starts with PowerShell automation, they typically begin with manual scripts. What does the landscape look like, and what challenges the team faces, Reshmee?
Yeah, I would say like that's particularly my history. It stays like with manual scripts all the time. Basically, my focus is mainly on the task execution, like to solve like a particular problem. And as Dimitri mentioned, like sometimes it's just like not even possible, just like from the user interface to do something, and you have like to rely on the scripts. So I have a lot of scripts, but mainly because I work like it's mainly like for me, and it tends like it's just for me like to improve my own task. So I would have it like in my own folders, and each time I had like the same task, it become a little bit easier for me just to find the script and start and just change parameters and just run it. One of the things like I realized like working like for several organizations, so like myself being a dev, we have like other developers or other teams like the security team or the infrastructure team. Each one or each member will write like the amazing scripts because there's no like centralized process or anything like in their own folders, and everything is like a black box because no one is aware what they are doing, what the case like, as long as the task is getting done, and that's it, unless like it's something really goes wrong. Possibly they more like to try to find out what happened, what's the cause of it. So it's a little bit um, challenging in that way. The other one, I would say, like even like different people or different people writing like those scripts, we have like different standards. I mean, not saying like it's wrong or right, but certain things like potentially, like for example, logging, which is essential. But sometimes if I'm more focused on just solving one particular problem, I'll just write the script just to do that, especially if it's just like one off and I'm not ever going to use that script again. I won't bother like writing the logging, but then if it's no like anything imposed on me, I just won't add it. And then it's just like the way people write or think. Ideally, if we have like particular functionality, ideally we want it to be a reusable module or function, so that we can easily incorporate it in a different script or call it from a different script. But again, if it's not done in the correct way, potentially it can't be like reusable. So it has quite a lot of challenges. The other one potentially is related to overprivileged access to run like those scripts, which can, again, depending on what the script is doing, but if it's not visible to the entire organization, it can cause a lot of harm, especially if it is something it's not supposed to do.
So we are talking about scripts scattered across different locations, version controls issues, and the classic "it works on my machine" problem. Dimitri, from your perspective, what are the pain points you hear often from organizations trying to manage PowerShell manually?
Yeah, many things are reflecting the things Reshmee mentioned before. One of the first things I hear from customers is there is no standard approach to writing, storing, or using script. You know, we are administrators, we are not developers. Without a clear coding style, many start literally like a small one-liners, and then these one-liners are growing just into massive unstructured pieces of code over time. And talking about delegation, it's just often handing over a file from one team to another and scripts are typically stored somewhere in the file system with NTFS permissions. There's only security layer at all. There's usually no proper version control on the scripts, which makes tracking changes and rolling back very difficult. And in large enterprises, you can multiply these problems across multiple IT teams, and the complexity grows so fast that the benefits of automation can be almost lost compared to the effort needed to manage it all. And of course, there is human factor. Typos have probably ruined more IT than malware did. On top of that, manual script management sets a very, very high entry threshold, because anyone running a script needs to needs a deep understanding of exactly what it will do to the systems. Another pain points is, for example, unreliable scheduling without proper reporting and audit, credential management or privilege management, lack of monitoring, as I said, lack of monitoring and audit, and poor reporting in general.
Cool. So thank you. So, but one thing I hear a lot about delegation. IT teams want to empower their help desk or business users to run certain tasks, but they can just hand over a PowerShell console access. Reshmee, how do organizations typically try to solve with manually approaches?
Yeah, so yeah, for the help IT help desk, yeah, it depends on organization. They may or may not grant like the PowerShell console access. Even like for a normal business user, possibly it's kind of restricted, so they don't have the power like to use or run any script from the machine, which is like from a safety mechanism. They just wants like to restrict it to a particular like IT admin department, like to be able like to do all those. But in case like for the IT help desk, they need to kind of handle loads of user queries, and potentially they might require like access like to PowerShell script, like to be able to help solve those problems. So in most cases, if it will get escalated to an IT admin team, and potentially we might have like the person from the IT help desk kind of shadowing like the administrator, like to see what is being done, just to have like an extra pair of eyes to understand and to ensure like the particular issue they are trying to working on is kind of fixed. But in other scenarios, potentially, if we do allow the IT help desks to run those scripts, because we might have like minimum skills and knowledge about the particular product, as an IT admin, what we could do potentially is write instructions, similar way that when I do submit sample script to the PMP PowerShell sample repository, we have like a lot of instructions about the different parameters, the different permissions, what we need to change, and basic high-level details what the script is doing. And depending on the risk level on the script, potentially we might let the IT help desk run it. The other one is depending, like if we don't have like PowerShell access, potentially we might have like a dedicated virtual machine where potentially we might have to log in using a service account and not them. I have seen like where I used to work previously, like having a service account to log in onto dedicated virtual machines, but these credentials get shared across different people, which again, it's like a security risk in case that account get compromised. Yeah, so that's like another option, like to have a dedicated virtual machines where they do all these admin tasks. Yeah, that's kind of from a high level what like delegation, like to IT help desk and some of the challenges that it might be. And sometimes some of the scripts might have like hard-coded credentials as well, which is like not good. But I've seen like instances like people who associate right where the scripts on the shared folders, and then after they left, potentially they kind of hand over all the scripts like to a person with minimum documentation, and sometimes I guess they're like, oh, credentials, oh, service account.
Okay, I think we should move from the very theoretical part into the demo. Let's shift to the solution side. Dimitri, give us an overview. What is ScriptRunner and how does it change the game for PowerShell
thanks.
automation?
Happy to. ScriptRunner is best described as the operational layer for PowerShell in an enterprise. Instead of scripts living on people's laptops or network shares or dedicated virtual machines, ScriptRunner provides a single managed platform to publish, run, and govern that automation. Concretely, it does three things that change the game. First, security. Hard-coded passwords and scattered credentials are replaced by vaulted secrets and runners accounts. User never ever get a raw credential anymore. The platform mediates execution, log the action, and let you rotate secrets without touching every script you have. Second thing is delegation and scale. You can export the right actions to help desk, application owners, or business users through role-based access control and auto-generated graphical users interfaces. Yeah, we can do it. That means routine tasks like password resets, onboarding, or mailbox changes can be run safely by non-admins without giving them privileged access. Third is governance and compliance. It's very important in enterprise. Every run is recorded with who ran it, which runner's account executed it, what inputs were used. If it's necessary, the inputs are masked, obviously, for like password fields, and the output that satisfies auditors, reduces single person knowledge risk. If an author leaves, someone else can safely pick up the runbook and move on. There's also practical benefits. You have a searchable catalog, so teams reuse approved scripts. You have runtime control to avoid this typical works on my box problem. And you have integration points to external systems. So automation can be triggered and can report back into your existing processes. And on top of that, you have approval workflow to prevent some ad hoc changes in production for critical processes.
Really interesting overview. So if you take a look at its essential centralized platform for managing, executing, and delegating PowerShell scripts, Reshmee, from an implanter perspective, what stands out about an enterprise automation platforms like ScriptRunner?
Yeah, I can say it solves like a lot of the challenges which I mentioned earlier about like the manual scripting. I'm just like going like to repeat a little bit like what Dimitri kind of said. It's about the centralized management of this of scripts, one place where you could easily find the scripts that the end user wants like to run, and the access control like minimum least respecting like the least privilege permissions to access like to all those scripts, which like especially like when you want to delegate to IT help desk. So yeah, so everything that it says, yeah, it's like especially like the audit trail, because like one of the thing like with manually running the scripts, like this each one is doing it on their own machine, like no one knows like who actually or when is actually there's like nothing, but having like ScriptRunner is just like solve these problems literally. And I really hope like have not seen ScriptRunner how it works, but especially like for myself, or if you're working like in a small team, everyone like running the scripts on their own machines, like you have like the logs scattered across different servers or machines, and it's make it hard like to isolate, to find out like when a problem happened, like how to analyze like huge logs to kind of pinpoint like the exact failure to kind of to take some action. So hoping like it will offer like an easy way of searching through all like several logs, even like sending, potentially hoping like to sending alerts like to the person who can actually take any actions, more like a more proactive approach instead of a reactive approach, because sometimes if a script runs, there's no logs, hopefully it should, but if there's no log, it's just like a nightmare.
Yeah, and Dimitri, you talk about self-service portals. I think this we should a little bit deeper on this topic. How does that work, and what does it mean for the end users? And we needn't to be an PowerShell expert anymore?
No, actually not. First thing great about self-service portal in ScriptRunner, it works natively and automatically. What I mean with that, it creates input elements based on parameter types and based on parameter section. For example, if you have a string array, it will be dropped down with multiple inputs. If you have only a string, you have like a text input. If you set a switch type, you have a checkbox. So as administrator, you don't need to be a front-end developer for that on the first place. And on the second place, it's fully native to PowerShell as well. So you're just writing good-looking code with parameters and inline help. We are using description synopsis and parameter helps to bridge between cryptical variables or parameter names that often not every administrator understand what it does, and human readable description. We just replace these names with human readable description and use this within our scripts like normally. And from the other perspective, you can reuse these scripts outside of ScriptRunner, and so it softly forces you to write good-looking code a little bit. We are administrators. We are living in a world of one-liners and quick setups. So it just softly put you in the right direction here. You can also link an interactive query, for example, to your parameter and get the data from an external system before you are forwarding it to your main script. So you can avoid all the typos in your automation. You just select something from dropdown and use it in a script. And good thing about it, you select by human readable name, and the script is using, for example, some ID that you don't really care about. Yeah. Last but not least, it enables end users with literally zero tech background for executing PowerShell code. You can delegate them your PowerShell action, and they can, for example, reset its password itself. Yeah, so it's a huge improvement in case of in sense of productivity of power users, end users, and help desk.
Yeah, this is really interesting, I think. And what about integration? organizations aren't just running standalone scripts anymore. They need PowerShell to work with M365, Azure, Power Platform, and more. How does ScriptRunner handle these complex integration scenarios?
Yeah, we have outbound for outbound integration. We have targets, different target types. For example, for Microsoft 365, Azure, or Entra ID. What I mean by that, it's like connection code and disconnection code integrated in ScriptRunner, so you don't need to take any action to connect to your Microsoft 365 tenant. You just register an application and use service principal like normally with a certificate or a client secret to connect to the service. And as I said, we have many of them, and Microsoft landscape is totally covered with our target types. For inbound integration, ScriptRunner presents API. It's API version 3 now. It's Open API compatible, so it's easy to use and self-documented. And on top of that, we have Swagger UI in ScriptRunner, so you can test your API automation directly in ScriptRunner without need to install something like Postman and so on.
Oh, that sounds great. So, but let us get practical with some more real scenarios. Reshmee, imagine an organization needs automate user onboarding across M365, Entra ID, and Exchange. Walk us through what that looks like: manual PowerShell versus Power platform approach.
Yes. Yeah. So with a manual approach, like an IT admin, probably, I mean, the request might have come through the help desk, and the help desk potentially they might have access to run the script themselves. So probably they might hand over like to an IT admin person, and that IT admin person might have like the script stored like on their file share, which we can open. Hopefully it would be like the right versions. If they don't have like me, like I have like a multiple version of the same script, like to do something with a slightly different variation. And then yeah, like Dimitri kind of mentioned, but from a manual approach, but more like to get all these parameters, like getting the username, everything, what is ever required to run the script. Need to enter them. Hopefully there won't be any typo mistakes. You just hope so. And that script will do everything like automatically in the background, like to create the account in Entra ID, to assign all the correct permissions, setting mailbox, and all the different settings. Yeah, so that's kind of the manual approach, which is a little bit more error prone, but with how Dimitri kind of described, like ScriptRunner, how it runs, especially with integration. So hopefully it might have like an integration with the service desk platform, and whenever a similar request come for user onboarding, if the IT help desk person just review all the details, ensuring like everything is right, have like the correct integration with the ScriptRunner, which can call directly a specific script in the background with all the parameters just pass on automatically. So there's a single point of failure, but at least only one person instead of duplicating of effort, because the IT help desk would already can't check all the details. The administrator would have to check the details again. But if it's all automated, that means there's like less manual effort. Everything would be kind of in a flow, kind of get triggered, script running, and then providing the feedback from to a IT help desk when all is done. And it's just like make it a lot simpler with all like the audit trail log of any errors. Because if it's done manually, then the log stayed somewhere like on an administrator's local machine, and you don't really see the kind of all the historical trend, how often like the script is run, like how often it's failed, and all those. So having like a platform approach, I can see the benefits around it.
So now comes the most important question to you, Dimitri. What are some outstanding use cases you've seen where ScriptRunner really shines compared to manual scripting?
Maybe I'm not that original, but the most typical one use case is on and offboarding. Like everyone had it, and on the one hand, you have complexity. It's in the most cases, it involves many platforms, many systems, and on the other hand, you have repeatability. So it's something what we are doing constantly, and something that jumps just drastically as your business grows. So in this case, you can really profit from a systematic approach and platform comparing to manual scripting. Another thing is permission management. It also something we are doing every day, but with interactive elements based on queries. You have drop downs, cascaded queries that you can compare to breadcrumbs navigation, so you don't jump directly to your subfolder, but you can navigate and select your subfolder like from tree, and that really eliminates human factor and human factor related errors from permission management. Give an approval on top of that, and you cannot compare it with manual approach anymore. So another one is background tasks with reporting. We have really in ScriptRunner, we really have first-class scheduler. You can run cron-like schedules. You can report back with HTML, with email. As Reshmee mentioned, it's really possible to build in an integration with your enterprise communicating system. Yeah, and you can compare and see how your scheduled actions, how your scheduled automations was running in the past, and if something isn't work, you can compare them. And last but not least is also inbound API integration. It's something like you don't have at all by manual approach. You cannot trigger your automation normally via API from third system based on some events. And in this case, platform approach lets you to be really flexible on that, really enhance your PowerShell scripting from just being some technical stuff to really help your business processes to be a part of that, of high level processes also.
So, but what about reporting and visibility? When something goes wrong with a manual script, troubleshooting can be painful. How does an enterprise platform improve that experience?
Yeah, in the first place, we have live monitoring. Like you always see what automations are running now, and see live from the console output if something goes wrong. We also have the function to compare two reports in our reporting, so you can really pick up two reports. One is failed, one is successful, and compare what the difference in output you can notice there. You have different reporting options, as I said, HTML or email, or integrating via external libraries. And not to mention all native possibilities are still there, but ScriptRunner is a platform, is a product, so you have customer support on top of that. And we in customer support and ScriptRunner really have knowledge if something goes wrong with your PowerShell automation or integration. In many cases, it's not related to PowerShell itself, it's just something integration related problems. And we help our customers with that.
So, Reshmee, brings back me to you. What's your take on that from the implementation side?
Yeah, I can see like I already kind of mentioned a few about the challenges, especially around the reporting and visibility, like the manuscript where it's selecting, but having like hopefully like ScriptRunner platform approach will help like to kind of easily like I really like the option of like live monitoring where you can see all the different scripts which are currently running by the business, which is really good. And the other one, which hopefully I found it like a issue, is related like to error codes, logs. I mean, sometimes as a developer you do write it, but sometimes like the errors coming like from the API doesn't really make sense. But for end users, especially the IT help desk, to have like a more user-friendly message, what exactly the error code means, to make it a little bit easier. Because right now it's like sometimes when you do anything with Microsoft API, it's just like you get a generic error, something went wrong. So it's like to deal with it. But but again, sometimes it's not. I would say it won't be like a script runner, but sometimes maybe depending on the context. Of the what the script is trying to do, just having like a different, more sensible message rather than just something went wrong. And the other thing, like I'm really hoping related to visibility, is like a script might have like different steps, like for example a user onboarding where it's create the user account, assigning permissions, like how long like each step takes, where's a bottleneck where it can be improved, just a little bit more like proactive messages, just not to have you have like a static kind of script, but just like having like guidance how it could actually be improved to improve the performance, or just generally like just to make it a little bit more production ready or enterprise ready in terms of the way that it's being written. Yeah, that's kind of my take on having like a platform approach.
So, but if we take a look at best practices and decisions, so the decision maker are CTOs or IT heads for a topic like that. For our audience, trying to decide between sticking with manual PowerShell or adopting a platform like ScriptRunner, what factors should they consider, Reshmee? What is your decision framework?
For me, like if ever like the script it's just like going like to be used only once, very unlikely like we'll need like to use it again. For example, like when you first set up a tenant, for example, you have like a particular script, especially when the organization just especially when this kind of the first steps when they go onto the cloud, they would run maybe a set of scripts just to set all these settings, and probably it won't ever be used ever again, because that's like a one-off exercise until possibly if it get bought or merge or something else. Yeah, so it depends like how many times a script is being used, and it depends whether you need to delegate the script to someone else or whether it's still like a one-person job, like still like running those scripts. And the other one is whether the script is like business critical, yes or no. For example, like the user onboarding a scenario that we covered earlier, or even you might have like, for example, site provisioning, which is repeatable. You have like to do it over again. It's a business critical script, so possibly you will looking into the using a platform approach. The other one, it depends on the risk appetite of the business, because if something goes really not wrong with the PowerShell script, it's more like a reactive approach, like how we're going to fix it, and the costs to the business can be quite huge. Like for example, having like overprivileged access to a script, like and then share it to someone, and that person running the script not knowing exactly what the whole details what the script is doing, it can cause a lot of harm. So yes, it's a lot of factors to consider, but again, it's just something like to for everyone just to see all like the pros and cons and see which one might be the best scenario for you.
Yeah, that sounds really legit. So, Dimitri, are there scenarios where you actually recommend staying with manual PowerShell rather than adopting with ScriptRunner?
I wouldn't say so. Really, native PowerShell is still there. It's not that ScriptRunner replaces PowerShell. It enhances PowerShell to the next level. So native PowerShell is still there, for example, for development or quick troubleshooting. It's more flexible and fast. But as soon as you have minimal viable script, just onboard it to ScriptRunner and use it there. Still, we all have one-liners, and it's great to have if you are using this once. But if it tends to be used more than once, then immediately convert it to a viable script, add parameter section, and onboard this to ScriptRunner server. I've seen this many times where this one-liners was not mentioned for using in production, were in fact in production, and it has almost ruined some enterprises. Really, it's really it can be dangerous, I would say, if you have something with privileged access without proper management on that, without proper understanding what does scripting potential done.
So, if we're looking at the skills side, how does the choice between manual and and platform automation affect team training and development? So, Reshmee, so what you're thinking about that?
Yeah, I mean, like Dimitri kind of mentioned, like if you use like a platform approach where you have like all those complexities around the script kind of abstracted, so it kind of make it easier. Like for help desk, like for example, they want like to find like a script just to fix like a Teams issue where they need like to run it to clear local cache. We can just go and just run it and they'll be fine for it. It's not really need to understand like each line by line what it's doing. So it's really kind of reduce the barrier of entry, like for like the business users, democratizing the use of scripts in a way because they don't really need to understand what it's actually doing, especially if it's like a script which has been like well tested, approved, to make it available to the business users like to use. Obviously, like with a role-based access, control the access, but yeah, it reduces the barrier. The downside, I would say, like probably they are not like spending much muscle power to understand writing scripts. It's just like one of those things.
I could only say this was been a fantastic deep dive. Reshmee, where do you see PowerShell automatic heading in the next few years, especially with AI and low-code tools emerging?
Yeah, with AI like being infused in all the Microsoft products, it can lead to a decrease in runs of PowerShell script. But so far, from my use of AI, like on it's nowhere near like in terms of accuracy. Even though, like when I try like to use AI like to write to help me write PowerShell scripts, it's good at providing like the boilerplate, like anything which has already been solved before. But if you're kind of stuck like on a niche problem, possibly, or because the technology evolved, or no one has kind of written anything on it, AI tries the best like to please you, will come up and isolate on a particular PowerShell commandlet, which just doesn't exist, but it sounds like nice if it was there. So again, it's kind of improving, and I would say like with AI and low code tools emerging, it's really similar way like using a platform tool, it lowers the barrier of entry where more people would be able like to write their own PowerShell scripts. But from my experience seeing like people doing that, they can see, oh, that seems that's possible, and then they come back to me. I'll ask ChatGPT to write me this, and you come back to me. So that should be alright. So like, no, that doesn't work. It doesn't even exist. But anyway, it just gets so it has like with the best side and the downside is just like increase the amount of work sometimes, because instead of trying to debug like something generated by AI, that's best use my time just to write it. Sometimes if it's just like one line of code versus like if AI generated like 100 lines of code to do something, or like, oh, there's better way. So sometimes AI they can't really replace experience and just like the problem solving skills, creativity skill of a person. Yeah, but definitely it will have just to get started, especially finding scripts like other people have already written like on a particular topic. Yeah, it does help.
And Dimitri, what's on the roadmap for ScriptRunner, and how are enterprises automation platforms evolving?
Yeah, on our roadmap, in the upcoming version 8 of ScriptRunner, we are introducing workflow engine with no-code editor. So you can just visually chain your ScriptRunner action, basically your PowerShell automation, with each other and build workflows, share workflows, and have the same approach you have with scripting automation and ScriptRunner with reporting and credential management within this workflow engine. We also built in our MCP server. We're converting ScriptRunner to the MCP server, so you can basically use your script as an AI agent directly without need to do something. If you already have description, like semantical description on your scripts in your inline help, it just uses these actions, the scripts directly as AI agents. And also you can use AI nodes for things like reporting analysis. Another step, it's improving open telemetry and integration with CM systems. It's also a business demand, and it grows as demand to security, secure execution. Execution is growing as well.
A lot of topics, a lot of features. Yeah, amazing. Final thoughts. If there are one key takeaway from today's discussion, what should it be? Reshmee, let's start with you.
Here we had a lot of different discussions between manual scripting versus Power Platform approach, like all the intricacies. And I would just like repeat what Dimitri kind of mentioned is like PowerShell script. It's here, it has its place, and the ScriptRunner is going there to enhance it, take it like to a different level, like to make it like the enterprise readiness. And to be honest, like before like this call, I didn't know much about ScriptRunner, but I can see how it really fill up the gaps in at the enterprise level in terms of helping like to ensure like we don't have like any security gaps, ensuring we have like proper audit trail, visibility, reporting, and other amazing things which ScriptRunner does.
And for you, Dimitri?
For me, it would be more like for directly to the admin auditory that ScriptRunner powers automation at scale, and it handles routine jobs, governance, orchestration. So you can focus on the things that matters on architecture and your code, because at the end it is that make this really interesting to work with PowerShell and automation and ScriptRunner.
So
Your final thought: your your automation journey doesn't need to be painful. That's it.
This is, I think, a perfect end sentence. So I could only thank you.
Yeah.
Important to know. So what we will cut the session because we are here in a 4-hour slot, and we will put it on an extra section on our M365 show YouTube side. And so, Dimitri, this is what we can talk later. If it's possible, we could add an I would say an ScriptRunner deep dive session for 45 minutes at the end, because I think it makes totally sense to take a look on it's how it works. All the other stuff we put this in the notes of the M365 Con, and later in the notes on the M365 show notes too. You will find there everything regarding to Reshmee. So if you want to talk with Reshmee, you can find her on LinkedIn. She works on amazing topics too. I know what they said about PNP scripting and so on. Yeah, and from my side, I can only say thank you. It was an amazing session. It was really fun for me, and good deep dive and an overview. I won't summarize at the end. So if you need fast and script and a solution, PowerShell manual scripting is a good way. So if you need an overall organization in your company and you are I would say full of manual scripting for your single important main processes, you should take a look at ScriptRunner. This would be the best way. So for us, I would say, or for today, I would say, we have the next session here at the M365 Con in 8 minutes with Moritz Gülke. And for you, I wish you a nice day and see you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
The Microsoft ecosystem is evolving faster than ever. Copilot, Power Platform, security, modern work, Azure AI. New features every week, new opportunities every day. But learning is scattered. Events are expensive, limited, and difficult to access. That changes now. Welcome to M365 Con, the world's largest online Microsoft 365 convention. 2 powerful weeks, 1 week of workshops, 1 week of free global talks and keynotes. Build your own learning path with expert-led workshops. From Power Platform to security, from Copilot to Azure AI, you choose what matters to you. Then join over 60 free sessions with most valuable professionals, Microsoft trainers, architects, and innovators from around the world. Meet the community, explore the virtual expo, connect with experts, and be part of a global Microsoft experience. Accessible, global, interactive, and designed for every Microsoft 365 professional. M365 Con, your community, your learning path, your Microsoft 365 future.
Are you tired of missing out on the latest Microsoft innovations that could entirely revolutionize your business operations and workflow completely now and forever? Imagine having daily insights from industry experts at your fingertips every single day, receiving actionable advice that transforms your professional landscape significantly with each new revelation daily. Our M365.fm podcast brings you engaging, insightful conversations with dynamic leaders shaping the future through innovative technologies and groundbreaking ideas that transform industries. Stay ahead of the curve with expert analysis on the cutting-edge strategies you need to implement immediately, making informed decisions and driving innovation forward successfully, always. From IT pros to C-level executives, our podcast has got you covered with actionable advice daily. Tune in now to discover forward-thinking revolutionary ideas that are transforming businesses like yours right now with innovative strategies and fresh perspectives. You get the exclusive inside scoop on Microsoft's latest technological developments and strategic moves, straight from the company's top experts and industry thought leaders daily. Our engaging discussions make complex tech topics simple, accessible, and highly actionable. You'll be the first to know about groundbreaking, game-changing technological advancements that significantly impact your role and transform your professional landscape completely every time. Each episode is packed with practical insights to boost your professional growth instantly. Don't just keep up. Stay ahead consistently with the knowledge and insights that set you apart creatively from the competition and others in your field, always effectively. Our M365.fm podcast is your essential key to unlocking the full potential of Microsoft's comprehensive suite of productivity tools and services effectively every day. Join a vibrant community of forward thinkers who are actively shaping the future of innovative tech and sustainable business models now and beyond regularly. You'll gain confidence in your decisions daily, backed by expert opinions and valuable insights, fostering personal growth and trust in your judgment naturally over time, with each careful consideration. Expect seamless integration of the latest tech trends into your workflow and overall business strategy, enhancing productivity and driving innovation through cutting-edge solutions and expert guidance daily. Every episode is a step towards becoming a more effective, informed, and confident leader in your chosen professional field by enhancing your skills and expertise gradually over time naturally. Make the most of Microsoft's innovations today. Subscribe to M365.fm now and lead the way to a more productive future with innovative tools and collaborative solutions instantly. Listen now and transform your approach to tech and business with M365.fm. Your ultimate growth starts here today with expert insights and innovative solutions immediately.
Welcome to Power Bros Knowledge, where Power Platform meets pure innovation. Your business runs on chaos, approvals lost, data scattered, time wasted. We know that pain. Now imagine automating everything, faster, smarter, and built for impact. That's where Power Bros come in, architects of digital change. We don't talk trends, we build results. Our Knowledge Hub turns expertise into action. Real tutorials, real automation, real impact. Whether it's Power Apps, Automate, Logic Apps, or Entra, we make it work together, smarter. Join the Power Bros movement. 30,000 professionals learning, building, and sharing every day. Ready to transform your workflows? Book us now, and let's build something legendary together.
Hello, and back again to the M365 Con stage, Azure and Entra. Today here with me is Moritz Göke. A warm welcome to you. And our topic for today is building a fully serverless AI web app with Azure Cloud Native Service. The stage is yours. You're on mute. You must unmute, Moritz.
Yeah.
And you can start. The stage is yours.
Yeah. Hi, Marcel. Hi, everyone, and thank you very much. Just wait a second. I will share the presentation. Okay, perfect. I hope everything works now. Yeah, welcome to the talk or presentation of building a fully serverless AI app using cloud or Azure services, to be more precise. And yeah, then let me introduce myself. I'm Moritz Göke, currently working as a manager in technology consulting at Protivity. And I'm also awarded MVP for the topics AI platform and Microsoft Azure. I'm working with Microsoft quite a while, have my origins in classical software development, and during my career I switched more and more to cloud development, where I'm still today in consulting services with quite a focus on Microsoft topics. So mostly I'm working in Azure environments today. What we are going to look at today is first, brief introduction, what is serverless? Then I will present services and an architecture for a sample application. I will then also demo it in the next step and review a little bit how it works and what services were used. And I will also provide a template of recreating it if anyone is interested. Then we will go into the cost analysis and also a little bit into the advantages. And after that, there's also time for questions, if that is possible here. I'm not really sure. All right. Then, the first topic or first thing, what is serverless at all? So serverless computing is allows applications to be deployed without the necessity to manage all the infrastructure of the servers manually. So if you look at back some years ago, or like it is in some IT infrastructure still today, they need to maintain servers, handle scaling, maintenance windows, patching windows, and everything. And serverless is an approach so that the cloud provider, in this case Azure, takes care of that. So if you go full serverless, you only pay for resource execution time. So for example, if you have code you want to execute, you can use a service Azure Functions, which executes code on demand or event-driven. And there you only need to provide the code. All the rest, the scaling, the infrastructure, everything is provided or handled by Azure then. There are different services for the different kinds of topics. So Azure Functions would be the sample of execute code on demand. There's also Azure Static Web Apps if you want to host just a web application, where you can then also integrate with backend services that you could use in Azure Functions again. And if you want to provide a database, you could use Azure Cosmos DB, which is also the service of a database, and you can just use it and it scales automatically. You can also distribute it globally automatically, so you have redundancy and safety for failure. And if the demand increases, so if your application, for example, gets more and more users, the database also scales automatically with its resource and computation power. At all, so what this gives to you is that serverless enables a faster development. You have lower costs and automatic scalability, so you just need to write your code or your application, and you don't have this overhead of managing all the infrastructure which is necessary which is necessary to run or provide an application to a larger group of people. Sorry. Azure in general offers a very wide range of serverless services. So you have computing, you have also AI services. Database we already seen, but you have also some services for large computation jobs when they run only once a week, that you don't need to provision a server which is running all the time and only on demand when the computation power is needed. Yeah, then let's go into the classification of Azure services. So if you would try to line them up from serverful to serverless, now in the field of computation service or computation power, you would have from serverful to serverless on the most left side Azure virtual machines. So you need to, need to provide or configure everything from the image to update security. You have very high operating costs, and if you need to have scaling, you can also configure that. There you would go a little bit to the right to virtual machine scaling sets if you want to automate that, but it's still you need to do everything manually. On the other hand, this gives you more control over the configuration and image properties, etc. But also you need to input much effort. Then if you go more to the right, we have the containerization of applications. I mean, you could also put into it classical Docker images with classical container services. Then you have Kubernetes, which orchestrates it a little bit more. App service, where you don't need to take care of this orchestration that much. And on the most right hand, we have Azure Functions, which is only the focus on executing the code. It scales very fast, and you have billing per execution time only. So every service still has its fields where it can be used or it should be used, and but when you are today only as an application developer speaking, you develop an application, you only need to write your code and want to provide it to a large audience, and you want to keep the costs low, then serverless is a pretty good area to go, I think, to choose. Then when we compare the traditional servers, which you had some years or some more years ago, when you wanted to provide an application or execute code, and when you compare that to serverless, you have an advantage at serverless in the operational effort, because here you only need to select the service and upload the code. The rest works pretty automated and can automatically scale to many thousands of users without configuring much, which would be in, for example, 10 or 20 years ago, very much effort to do that, or to achieve that, because there you need to rent many servers and configure like automatic load balancing and scaling. And today, or with serverless, this is all automated. Also, if you have servers which are running continuously, they have much idle time, but you pay the cost at all time. And when you switch to serverless, you have a pay-per-use model, so you pay only for that what you actually use. And for example, if you go to databases, they pay per transaction. And if you go to Azure Functions, you pay per execution time. And also with the AI services, maybe this is more common today, there you pay per input and completion tokens. Also serverless has some advantages or some native advantages when it comes to redundancy, availability, and provisioning. So there's like an inbuilt availability and redundancy. So if, for example, one Azure region would fall out, it would automatically switch over to another region without much configuration effort. And also the provisioning, you just need to upload the code to your function, and the rest is completely managed by the provider. Also, again, taking the example of Azure Functions, the monitoring and logging is natively integrated in Azure Functions. You just need to set up your log space, while with classical servers or virtual machines, you need to configure that inside your machine or application even, where the logs need to be sent to. Yeah. Yeah, in the next minutes, we will see, or we will look into how to actually build an app, yeah, where we combine these services. In particular, we will combine these 4 services. So we will have an Azure Static Web App, where we will host a front end, to be more specific, React or JavaScript React static web app. And this web app will then have a backend in the form of Azure Functions where logic is called. Here it will call AI models and store the conversations in databases. So we will have a small chat application. And Foundry will provide the AI capabilities, so large language models in our case, and Cosmos DB will store the conversations and provide the possibility to load them from any web browser. Then we have the Gen AI on Azure, where we use Microsoft Foundry, which is the new or rebranded service, where we have a model catalog. All models run also fully managed there, so we don't need to handle anything. We just need to deploy a model, and then we can access it via API, also from any application. And here we only use the models for text generation and understanding. So we will use a GPT model. But in case you need to create any advanced AI applications, there are also models or services available for speech recognition and analysis, optical character recognition. You can generate images and videos also and analyze sentiment. There's a really broad set of tools regarding AI, which are all available from Microsoft Foundry. Also, you can create, which is relatively new, you can create flows inside Microsoft Foundry and build this agentic topics or services. So they are very free to create own and advanced AI services. When using the API, which we will also do, their request usually contains a list of messages and together with a role which indicates from who the message comes. So we have the option to provide system context. This is typically the system prompt which indicates rules or behavior for the model. So there you can input the tone, the language, and maybe some patterns in which he should answer. Then the user's current question or message, or all the user's messages in the past. And the assistant is what the model in the past answered. So you need to send the conversation history with every API request to give the AI model the knowledge of what happened in the past. So usually the AI or large language models do not learn or keep the content in mind in general, because every request goes to an arbitrary AI deployment physically from the Azure resource pool. And every time we send a request, we want to have the past conversation available for the model. So we need to include it also in our request. Give me a second. So this would be an example of an API call. So you can this is an example written in JavaScript. You call it just by this OpenAI client. And there, the important part is just this message array where you provide these messages I just told. And there you have the system prompt, which defines the behavior. And this user assistant user messages are more or less like the past conversations or past messages which were sent. In some models, you also have some settings like this temperature thing in line 32, where you can define how creative the model is, for example, or how creative the model should get in his answer, where some values make it more creative and some make it more determined. We also have a context window, so each message is split into tokens. I will show that later. And there, the context is limited to a specific amount of tokens. So if the messages or the past conversation is too long, we can't include it in one API call and need to shorten or summarize it a little bit. This is also the reason if you have, for example, in ChatGPT or Gemini, very long conversations and they are too long, sometimes the model forgets what you wrote in the past. And also, if conversations get longer, you also increase your consumption. So longer conversations are or get more expensive over time because of the included context. Okay. Yeah. Then, before we go into the demo part, we will have an overview of the app architecture on Azure. So these are the different services we are using, and we will connect them to create a whole application. The auth logic, I will just, you can include that, so you can include authentication with, for example, Entra ID or any authentication provider. We will skip this part a little bit for this now because it gets too, goes too much into detail. So this auth logic box, just keep it out. We will focus on the static web app integrated with another Azure Functions backend, which will then use large language models and the Cosmos DB to send your requests and store them in a database and load them. And what you as user see then is you can open the app in the browser, where then the static web app service provides you access to the content of the front-end app. All right, then we will go into the demo part. And I hope this, need to check whether this is working. Yeah, perfect. So this is our sample application. So we have a chatbot or a chat app where we can send messages. These messages are then sent to a GPT mini model, and then the token consumption is tracked, and also the execution time of the function is tracked. And here you can see more or less in real time what cost this generates. So if I enter a message, then it loads a little bit for the response. And in the background, this goes to an Azure function, which then sends it to the large language model and collects the answer back, and also does the tracking part. And then you have an answer of what you want, the normal prompt, just like in ChatGPT or any AI application also. And here you see the prompt tokens which are consumed, the completion tokens which are consumed, and then you can, because every token costs a little bit, you can calculate the cost from that, and also the functions have an execution time which is given back as a response, and this execution time can also be calculated the costs of the Azure function execution. And you see this is also 1,000 still of cent in each time. And also if I enter another message, we have here graphs on the token and cost consumption. And you also see if I now enter a message, the prompt tokens are pretty high, much higher than the last time, because this whole past message from the large language model is also included in the request. This is why the token curve is always a little bit more or less quadratic over the time of a conversation. Maybe just to clarify how tokens are calculated. So tokens are more or less the building blocks of a language for the large language model. So if you have a text, for example, like this, you can break this text down into tokens, and the language models do that before, or do that, when your message is entered, and also the message output is given in tokens time by time. When you have streaming activated, this is what gives you the idea of the model is something writing, because the token output is generated token by token in the response. So when you use ChatGPT and there's streaming activated, you get each token after each token, and therefore this gives the idea of the AI is writing something, which is not so far from the reality as it is generated, and not everything at all. So, and here, for example, each large language model has its own tokens, and for the different models, there's a tokenizer on OpenAI, but also for other models where you can put the content in, and since you see the tokens, I mean, this is natively done when sending a message, but they could see how many tokens a message is usually. All right. Then we will go a little bit back into the presentation. And we will look at how many costs are really generated by this application. So we have the different services. We have an Azure Static Web App, Azure Function, Cosmos DB, and then different models on Azure OpenAI. In this case, I chose GPT-5 Mini, but there's a model catalog with, I think, around 10,000 models available in Azure or Microsoft Foundry, where you can choose pretty freely from, but all have a little bit different, or are a little bit different with respect to the token costs. They also differ when you select Mini or Nano. They get cheaper or expensive on based on how powerful the model really is. And here you see the pricing. You can also find that online if you go on Azure pricing for the different services. And if you sum that up with the assumption of 100 active users, each user sends 500 messages. You get, for this application with this model, you get roughly 23 euro per month, which is really not much. I mean, you could provide this application to many. You can even provide it without any problem to much more users per month, and then the cost would increase based on the demand. But just to give so you have an image of how much this costs. It is really not that much, and you have this is the option, or the cheapest option, to create such an application or service while providing it to that many users. This would then also be the time for questions. Before that, I also wanted to show I have this application available as a GitHub repository, which is also public, and where the infrastructure template and code is included and free. Here's also a guide on how to set it up. So what happens, what is configured, and here's a detailed guide what you need to do. The prerequisite is that you need an Azure account or subscription, where you have the required permissions, and then you can set it up by just providing identities and connecting your account, or set it up as a GitHub repo. So this I can also provide, or you can, I don't know if you have access to the chat here, but maybe you can just copy the URL by hand in the from this application. So that would already be it. I could also show how the application is looking into the Azure portal. I'm not really sure if here is, or if the option exists to ask questions here. Okay, perfect. Thank you very much. So if there are any questions in the chat or anywhere, feel free to ask or to provide them. I will maybe also just look on LinkedIn. Not yet. Okay. Yeah, then we can have a look into the Azure portal, how the services look there. So yeah, so if you are looking into the Azure portal, this is the resource group where the application is created, and here you have the services for Cosmos DB, Function App. These are just for logging, so you could also take them out. The OpenAI service, static web app, and the rest are just additional services which are created when you create these base services. But here the main services, I will just tick them. These are, or how you keep it, these are the ones we are using and which build the components of the web app in total. All right, then this would also be it. If there are any questions or messages, feel free to contact me either on LinkedIn, or you can also.
I have some questions.
Sure,
So
feel free.
let us talk. You know, I'm a Power Platform guy. So so if it's not, so I could explain this. So why should I use an Azure static web app and not, for example, Power Pages or a Power App? Could you explain this? I think this could be important for a lot of viewers because we're working on this thing.
Yeah, I mean, there are different points of view, and depending where you come from, this whole setting is for when you are really used, or when you're used in coding and want to build a classic web applications, like write everything into, I would say, standard code. I mean, I can also show the repository how it looks when you go into VS Code. So I tend to build my projects in VS Code, and here you have everything, the functions. For example, these are the database functions to create items, delete items, store the conversation, and load them. In our case, and here also the front end screens, you can write everything as code and define it, on your own. So this is one aspect, and the other thing is, Power Platform is probably the easier good way if you are known in low code and when you are licensed fully, but for this whole thing you don't need any licenses, so everything is built on demand. And if I want to create an application and, for example, send it to 10,000 of users, I just pay the on-demand cost of the application, and I just need an Azure subscription where I also have no running costs or no costs that I'm bound to. So, for example, this application, I could send it to the whole world and everyone could use it for free. I can integrate it with an Azure ID for login purposes, for example, but it is pretty easy to distribute, and you have full freedom. I would say then the more or less negative aspect is you have probably a little bit more development effort compared to Power Platform or Power Pages.
Yeah, really good answer, I think. So for me as a Power Platform guy, it's if I saw the I would say the architectural insights of an static web app solution like yours has ever been everything is a summary of different different components. I would say you have chosen and Cosmos DB. Could you say why you choose that?
So if we take a step back or a little bit higher level, when creating a web application or an application at all, you always have from a more high-level perspective, the components of a front end, of a back end or computation service, and then additional services like databases. Today, also the AI services, which can vary from a large language model to an OCR, so character recognition or video generation or analysis services. And then you create these components and deploy them in Azure, and then you connect them. For this particular application, I chose the most serverless way to go. So for the front end, this would be a static web app where you can deploy modern apps like Angular, React, or anything which counts as a static web app. And you have here the cost of $9 per month, regardless of how many people are using it. And you don't need to worry about scaling at all or about anything else and uploading the code. Then you have, for the backend, this serverless approach is Azure Functions here, where you just upload the code and select your language. In this case, this is JavaScript. And then everything else is handled by the functions automatically. And for the database, it would be Cosmos DB with the same reason. Yeah, there you also just pay per transaction or per storing an item, receiving an item. There's also a lot of potential to go into deep dive here because Cosmos DB, I mean, you can have transactional requests, simple requests, and also configure a little bit of how it is distributed around the world, but that is also done pretty fast, and you don't just need to select, okay, I want my database available in region Europe, region, I don't know, US, East, West, and can just more or less like tick in the box to configure that.
But the combination of all increases the cost, correct? So only a question. So if I have a static web app, is where the storage account included?
Yeah, a static web app has no storage natively. So static web app is only a front end resource which you can then access. But to get a storage or to get the option of storage, you would need to create a blob storage or a database, and then connect it to have this available. And then you pay for this, for example, database service. You also pay on demand for the data stored and retrieved.
So it's a combination of Azure costs when the storage account, the static web app, the Cosmos DB, what is with Azure AI Search? Was this integrated or not?
It's not integrated. I mean, I can show it in an example, but AI Search, for example, is not that serverless because they need to provision running resources which are constantly running and which are cost around, if you go the least productive setting, I think it's around $80 or $200 per month. So already quite expensive if you want to set up this vector database service in Azure, but you can also do it. I also have some example for that, if you give me a second.
No problem.
Just need to find the content for it. But then I will also... All right, yeah, this is some web application I built to demonstrate the case of retrieval augmented generations, where you also set up an Azure Search service. And here in the background, you can provide documents to which the AI has access when generating its answers. And I hope I remembered correctly, but I uploaded here the Gen AI Ops with Azure AI Foundry. It's just a Microsoft document. This is loaded inside the AI search service, and when I now answer when I now question the model about this, then he gets access to this vector database in the background, or OpenAI search service in the background, and then he finds this document. I mean, there are more documents than that, and also finds the correct pages or parts inside the document.
Ah, very cool. So we had yesterday a session with Sean Ashrican with me as an free co-part, and where he talks about the advantages and disadvantages of the Azure AI search. So I think this is could be an interesting part. So, and this is my main problem if I ever been thinking about Azure AI architecture. To summarize this at the end is. Could you summarize the parts what I started before about which topics a developer should think about, like storage account, like choices of web app example, or how to deliver, and large language. So I think the part to choose the right large language model, this could be costs a lot of money, I think. So because you show that a nano model costs only a part of an mini model, and so could you explain this a little bit as an end sentence?
Yeah, sure. So I mean, when you go to Microsoft Foundry, you have access to, I think, around 10,000 models by now. Oh, that's all I said. I don't know. I did not scroll through that much. And every model has its strengths and weaknesses, and also they differ very much in cost. So if you have a nano model, for example, the cost is 1/10 or 1/100th of the cost of the standard model. And if you imagine this scales, so if you select the nano model, you have cost of €100 per month, and if you select the normal model, you have 100 times that cost, so you'd be already by $10,000 per month. This makes really a difference when coming to deploying it to a larger scale. So ideally, you are aware of what you want to do with the model. So in this case, with this retrieval augmented generation application, the model does not really make a difference because the knowledge is coming from the vector database anyway, and it just uses this content to generate the answer. So here it is not that bad to select a smaller, like a nano model. On the other hand, if you have cases like the model needs to execute tasks, you have, for example, an agent or multi-agent scenario where you have an orchestrator which needs to think what to do, what to call, and work with the context that is given very much, then it's more sensible to, or makes more sense to select a larger model, because then quality really is the point where it matters, and also the actions which the agents is executing are determined by that model. So then you would ideally select a model which is optimized in that.
So is there an master plan, so where I could find the perfect model for my for what I want to do?
If you go into the Foundry portal, you can see the models with their strengths and weaknesses. So there are a little bit listed, and there are also benchmarks for different use cases. But I mean, most of the times use case is a little bit individual, and I would, before selecting the model, I would analyze the use case a little bit, and then select a model where the benchmarks for that case. I mean, some use models to compare content in documents, more in mathematical documents. Some need large context window. There are very many different scenarios, and they are for these all scenarios. And sometimes you need more reasoning, sometimes not. There are different benchmarks and properties of the models. When my thing is loading,
no problem.
I will show you.
Yeah, so it's a little bit. So I saw in many use cases, for example, for Copilot Studio, a lot of using 4.0 Mini. But for me, it's ever been the answer why. So I think you had a table, and regarding to the amount what is emated of on content. You should calculate what it could be the perfect model, but that's why I said Azure AI is for me ever been the hardest way, because there's a lot of out of the box functionality, sure, yeah, but to find the right way and the most cost efficient way, it's need a lot of try and pain, I think, or you have what
exactly.
do you think here?
I mean, I would compare it a little bit to Microsoft Foundry compared to Copilot Studio, or compare both services and advantages. And it is like if you use Microsoft Foundry or Azure in general, there you have a lot of more freedom of what you can configure and how you can do the things, but it also takes a lot of effort to make it correct and to go through all these configurations and deployments and make everything correct. And it's a little bit of when is the point where you are happy and how much effort are you willing to take into one project or one agent or whatever. So if you want to create many agents fast with Copilot Studio and the quality is also sufficient, or you are very happy with the outcome, I would advise stay by that. But if there are cases where you need an advanced or individual configuration deployment, or the quality need to be improved to a very individual and high level, then at some point you would need to switch to Microsoft Foundry or Azure in general, because there you have the freedom to do everything you want. And I mean, maybe this model catalog is a little bit representative for that, because if you take Copilot Studio, you have access to, I think, five or 10 models. And here you can select every model, and also they have like in their description, there's where you should use it, with use cases, with pricing, and for some models, not for everyone, there are also the benchmarks available, which show how good the models perform in the different scenarios. So, for example, here.
So when there is an most important question at the end, is there an cost cut function at the end? So I heard about a lot of stories of customers who said, "Oh, I lost $3,000 over the weekend regarding this function in Azure Foundry," and so. This is my question. So I know they have changed a lot of features there. Could you tell me something about that?
You mean about a cost aspect in general?
Yeah. So is there a possibility to say only for this agent or for this LLM I use, I want only and cut on, let's say, €100 a month or something like that?
Unfortunately, there's no inbuilt automatism to limit it to this amount of money and then like switch it off completely. What you can do, you can define a budget in your subscription, and then you get automated alerts, and you can also use these alerts to then create an automation to shut down the AI service.
This is a party buff, yeah. Yes, I know this. Yeah. So this would be cool. So if Microsoft could integrate this directly in an app, so because
I agree.
So you have a subscription, for example, for we're working or on this subscription are 100 logic apps and some 100 static web apps and other stuff. It could be really hard to cut it for all. Yeah.
Exactly. And I would advise I would definitely advise to set up a budget if you use Azure in general, not only in the case of AI, but set budgets and alerts for your cost consumption, because there's no automatism to limit that. And I think there was a case where a student had a Google account as a Google Cloud account, and he had nothing configured like that, and he got hacked, and they generated a consumption of $60,000 or something like that. And then, I mean, it was a big back and forth, and then Google said, okay, it's okay, keep it, but usually he had legally he would have needed to pay that.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. I heard stories like that. Yeah. So, yeah, I think it was a really, impressive overview regarding to your solution. I want to thank you for your time, and I hope we see us back soon. And our next session is, I must click once again, Isabel Liu and Joey O'Neill with Transforming Enterprise Knowledge SharePoint integrated with Azure AI Search and Copilot Studio for deep reasoning insights. So there's everything of all in this session. So we see us back in 40 minutes. Bye-bye. Thanks, man.
See you, and thank you very
The
much for having me.
Microsoft ecosystem is evolving faster than ever. Copilot, Power Platform, security, modern work, Azure AI. New features every week, new opportunities every day. But learning is scattered. Events are expensive, limited, and difficult to access. That changes now. Welcome to M365 Con, the world's largest online Microsoft 365 convention. 2 powerful weeks, 1 week of workshops, 1 week of free global talks and keynotes. Build your own learning path with expert-led workshops. From Power Platform to security, from Copilot to Azure AI, you choose what matters to you. Then join over 60 free sessions with most valuable professionals, Microsoft trainers, architects, and innovators from around the world. Meet the community, explore the virtual expo, connect with experts, and be part of a global Microsoft experience. Accessible, global, interactive, and designed for every Microsoft 365 professional. M365 Con, your community, your learning path, your Microsoft 365 future.
Are you tired of missing out on the latest Microsoft innovations that could entirely revolutionize your business operations and workflow completely now and forever? Imagine having daily insights from industry experts at your fingertips every single day, receiving actionable advice that transforms your professional landscape significantly with each new revelation daily. Our M365.FM podcast brings you engaging, insightful conversations with dynamic leaders shaping the future through innovative technologies and groundbreaking ideas that transform industries. Stay ahead of the curve with expert analysis on the cutting-edge strategies you need to implement immediately, making informed decisions and driving innovation forward successfully, always. From IT pros to C-level executives, our podcast has got you covered with actionable advice daily. Tune in now to discover forward-thinking, revolutionary ideas that are transforming businesses like yours right now with innovative strategies and fresh perspectives. You get the exclusive inside scoop on Microsoft's latest technological developments and strategic moves, straight from the company's top experts and industry thought leaders daily. Our engaging discussions make complex tech topics simple, accessible, and highly actionable. You'll be the first to know about groundbreaking, game-changing technological advancements that significantly impact your role and transform your professional landscape completely every time. Each episode is packed with practical insights to boost your professional growth instantly. Don't just keep up. Stay ahead consistently with the knowledge and insights that set you apart creatively from the competition and others in your field, always effectively. Our M365.FM podcast is your essential key to unlocking the full potential of Microsoft's comprehensive suite of productivity tools and services effectively every day. Join a vibrant community of forward thinkers who are actively shaping the future of innovative tech and sustainable business models now and beyond regularly. You'll gain confidence in your decisions daily, backed by expert opinions and valuable insights, fostering personal growth and trust in your judgment naturally over time, with each careful consideration. Expect seamless integration of the latest tech trends into your workflow and overall business strategy, enhancing productivity and driving innovation through cutting-edge solutions and expert guidance daily. Every episode is a step towards becoming a more effective, informed, and confident leader in your chosen professional field by enhancing your skills and expertise gradually over time naturally. Make the most of Microsoft's innovations today. Subscribe to M365.fm now and lead the way to a more productive future with innovative tools and collaborative solutions instantly. Listen now and transform your approach to tech and business with M365.fm. Your ultimate growth starts here today with expert insights and innovative solutions immediately.
Hi, I'm Sean, and I train people to become Power Platform Solutions Architects. If you're watching this, you know Power Platform, but be honest. When you're building a solution, are you using the best tools to solve the problem or just the tools you know? If you love building powerful, scalable solutions that make your company money, let me share why our training is different. We've noticed that the best architects know a series of best practices and they apply them to every project. So we took all these best practices and put them into this course.
The Microsoft ecosystem is evolving faster than ever. Copilot, Power Platform, security, modern work, Azure AI, new features every week, new opportunities every day. But learning is scattered. Events are expensive, limited, and difficult to access. That changes now. Welcome to M365 Con, the world's largest online Microsoft 365 convention. 2 powerful weeks, 1 week of workshops, 1 week of free global talks and keynotes. Build your own learning path with expert-led workshops. From Power Platform to security, from Copilot to Azure AI, you choose what matters to you. Then join over 60 free sessions with most valuable professionals, Microsoft trainers, architects, and innovators from around the world. Meet the community, explore the virtual expo, connect with experts, and be part of a global Microsoft experience. Accessible, global, interactive, and designed for every Microsoft 365 professional. M365 Con, your community, your learning path, your Microsoft 365 future. Welcome to Power Bros Knowledge, where Power Platform meets pure innovation. Your business runs on chaos, approvals lost, data scattered, time wasted. We know that pain. Now imagine automating everything, faster, smarter, and built for impact. That's where Power Bros come in, architects of digital change. We don't talk trends, we build results. Our Knowledge Hub turns expertise into action, real tutorials, real automation, real impact. Whether it's Power Apps, Automate, Logic Apps, or Entra, we make it work together, smarter. Join the Power Bros movement, 30,000 professionals learning, building, and sharing every day. Ready to transform your workflows? Book us now, and let's build something legendary together.
Are you tired of missing out on the latest Microsoft innovations that could entirely revolutionize your business operations and workflow completely now and forever? Imagine having daily insights from industry experts at your fingertips every single day, receiving actionable advice that transforms your professional landscape significantly with each new revelation daily. Our M365.FM podcast brings you engaging, insightful conversations with dynamic leaders shaping the future through innovative technologies and groundbreaking ideas that transform industries. Stay ahead of the curve with expert analysis on the cutting-edge strategies you need to implement immediately, making informed decisions and driving innovation forward successfully, always. From IT pros to C-level executives, our podcast has got you covered with actionable advice daily. Tune in now to discover forward-thinking, revolutionary ideas that are transforming businesses like yours right now with innovative strategies and fresh perspectives. You get the exclusive inside scoop on Microsoft's latest technological developments and strategic moves, straight from the company's top experts and industry thought leaders daily. Our engaging discussions make complex tech topics simple, accessible, and highly actionable. You'll be the first to know about groundbreaking, game-changing technological advancements that significantly impact your role and transform your professional landscape completely every time. Each episode is packed with practical insights to boost your professional growth instantly. Don't just keep up. Stay ahead consistently with the knowledge and insights that set you apart creatively from the competition and others in your field, always effectively. Our M365.FM podcast is your essential key to unlocking the full potential of Microsoft's comprehensive suite of productivity tools and services effectively every day. Join a vibrant community of forward thinkers who are actively shaping the future of innovative tech and sustainable business models now and beyond regularly. You'll gain confidence in your decisions daily, backed by expert opinions and valuable insights, fostering personal growth and trust in your judgment naturally over time, with each careful consideration. Expect seamless integration of the latest tech trends into your workflow and overall business strategy, enhancing productivity and driving innovation through cutting-edge solutions and expert guidance daily. Every episode is a step towards becoming a more effective, informed, and confident leader in your chosen professional field by enhancing your skills and expertise gradually, over time naturally. Make the most of Microsoft's innovations today. Subscribe to M365.FM now and lead the way to a more productive future with innovative tools and collaborative solutions instantly. Listen now and transform your approach to tech and business with M365.FM. Your ultimate growth starts here today with expert insights and innovative solutions immediately.
Hello and a warm welcome to the M365 Con on our Azure and Entra stage. Here with me, my co-host from the M365 show, Isabel Leo and Joey O'Neill. A warm welcome to you. The topic of today is transforming enterprise knowledge, SharePoint integrated with Azure AI Search and Copilot Studio for deep reasoning insights. The stage is yours. Have fun.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you for the introduction, Marcel. Well, hello, everyone. I am Isabel, and I design modern workplace experiences using Power Platform and SharePoint Online to turn complex business needs into clean, scalable solutions. And I have here with Joey. But before we dive in, I would love for you to share a little bit about yourself and what you're seeing organizations struggle with the most right now.
Yeah, sure thing. Thanks, Isabel. Hi, I'm Joey O'Neill. A little bit about me. I've been in the kind of IT space, custom app dev for 25 years or more now. And so predominantly right now, I do a lot of process automation, SharePoint, Power Platform, those kind of things. Power Automate's always been my tool of choice. Love that tool. So do some really cool stuff with some of those things. And over my career, the things that I have noticed with organizations is that they tend to have a lot of data, right? They have a lot of documents, just a lot of content of stuff they're storing, especially in the SharePoint space. And they just don't really know how to get to that stuff efficiently, right? And they've recently, started hearing all this buzz around AI, right? And that AI is the answer. They just feel very overwhelmed with it, and they don't really know how to implement. So that's what some of the things that I've kind of started noticing is just ways to use that to start increasing productivity within the organization.
Yeah, well, sounds good. Let's dive in a little bit of what we're going to talk about. So we are going to show how organizations can transform enterprise knowledge using SharePoint AI. When I say AI, we're using Azure AI Search and Copilot Studio. So this isn't a theoretical architecture. This is a really real solution we have built to solve a enterprise problem. At the core of today's session, it's a use case from one of our clients where knowledge overload was becoming a business risk. So we'll start with the business problem, then walk through the architecture, and then show you how AI enables grounded, audible reasoning, and then show you our main takeaways. I'm going to pass the mic to, yep, go ahead.
Yeah, thanks, Isabel. Sorry about that. I think I skipped a slide. So as I kind of mentioned, right, I've noticed that all organizations, to be successful, one of the things that helps them be successful is they tend to work with external vendors, right? And so for one of the clients, the one we're going to be kind of talking through this solution, right? Their vendor management team was spending countless time and effort just manually sifting through their vendor documentation. They have a yearly review that they go through, and so a vetting process that they need to do every year with current vendors and potential vendors. And so this documentation is very necessary to go through to make sure that the vendors they are working with, they are who they say they are, and they also are complying with any regulations that the industry requires. And for example, right, some of these things we're kind of talking about are things like SOC reports, financial statements of various kinds, right? InfoSec and cybersecurity policies, and there's like tons more documents, right? And things that information they need to process, right? In vetting these vendors. So as the number of vendors themselves increased, and then the documents on top of that, this manual review process just kind of became more and more tedious. It started losing a little bit of efficiency, right? And it's just failing to scale. So when this happens, it's no longer about the inefficient process itself, but it actually impacts all facets of the organization. So from no longer being in compliance, right, with regulatory laws, to missed timelines and unsuccessful business initiatives, and then ultimately affecting their audit readiness. So our client recognized this critical question, and so they asked, how do we scale our vendor risk assessments without sacrificing the required governance and also the human judgment that's necessary?
Sounds good. So moving on to the business problem, right? So when humans are reviewing hundreds of documents per vendor, fatigue becomes a risk factor. So the existing process was very, very manual. So on the annual basis, they would have to review these vendors to make sure we still want to invest in this vendor. And there are multiple teams are involved answering the part of the process and in high variability in interpretation. So there are, in this business use case, there is a 14-step process with very structured questions. And each process has certain questions that it has. So one of the examples of questions, if a specific document is available, yes or no, or a likelihood impact risk score questions. So the likelihood impact risk score question is a little bit more, in this industry, from a scale 0 to 5, what is the likelihood of the possibility of risk occurring? And then the impact, what is the impact on the financial transaction, legal, and reputation risk? And the risk score is the impact score times the likelihood score. So every one of these steps requires someone to read, interpret, and summarize unstructured documents. So this is exactly the type of problem AI is good at. If it is grounded correctly, we want to say, as much as we love AI helping out our productivity, the goal is not to replace human process or the risk owners. It was to eliminate low value manual effort so humans can focus on the judgment.
Exactly. So with this goal in mind, right, of not replacing humans in interaction, right? So we knew we needed to really build something that not only just solved the problem at hand, but also scaled with them. And really something that would help to reinvigorate purpose, right? Some of these tasks and these processes, they tend to get tedious after time, right? People don't enjoy doing them as much as they used to, if they ever did at the beginning, right? And so we wanted to help make sure that was something that, again, helped them to be very productive and efficient. And so with that, I do want to introduce you to Vendy. This is our AI-powered vendor risk assessment assistant, and the solution we're going through today, right? And just a little note, right? This is the name has been changed for protection for any reference to anybody living or otherwise is purely coincidental, right? But to iterate what Isabel said, the purpose of Vendy is to be a decision support tool, not an actual decision maker, because we still need to have that human judgment and humans involved in the process. So in developing Vendy in this solution, right, there were several capabilities that we identified. We know that, obviously this needs to ingest documents and possibly high volume documents, being able to deeply analyze them. We also needed to be able to detect and extract key data points such as control frameworks and any other indicators that are used in the vetting process. We also needed the ability to identify risk indicators or red flags, right? So as you're vetting vendors, any information that stands out to you as to why this vendor might not be a good fit for your organization, right? We needed to be able to kind of know that. The other thing was to also be able to produce these structured summaries, right? People are reading these documents. They're trying to process the information, and they're trying to organize it in such a way that they can consolidate it down to help be able to highlight strengths and weaknesses of these vendors. So having these kind of summary pieces of information helps them to make some of those decisions faster. And then also just alignment with risk scoring and the ratings, right? So these recommendations based upon the 0 to 5 scales that Isabel mentioned, right? These scoring and ratings are what kind of help them know which percentage of this vendor actually would work well with the client in this case. So we've kind of talked a bit about the why. We're going to talk a little more about the why, but also how we built this. So, why exactly AI search? Well, again, as I mentioned, most companies tend to have a lot of documents, a lot of content and everything that they're collecting in SharePoint, right? And so SharePoint is still at the end of the day, SharePoint is still in the mix, right? It's still the user-friendly interface that the organization can use to store their documents, get to their documents and everything. But, in trying to include it as a part of, as a knowledge source in an AI process, the one thing that kind of sticks out is there are a little bit of limitations with SharePoint. It's getting better and better all the time, but for this particular solution, we knew we were going to need some heftier processing power and real deep analyzing during the process. So in regards to this, we had to kind of consider, well, what does SharePoint as a knowledge source, what does it give us, right? And so kind of looking here, right, one of the things about SharePoint and using it as a knowledge source, especially in the context of Copilot, the AI tool we're using here, is it's really best when you're using keyword or kind of static question and answer style searching, right? Ask a fairly simple or kind of easy question, you kind of get the response back, right? And if you have a lot of content, high volume documents, I mean, it is going to take a little bit for it to be indexed and discovered, right? So that the AI tool can give you proper responses, right? Then, even with that, right, you're still going to kind of get some inconsistent answers, right? Especially when you're trying to put in complex and multifaceted questions like what we're needing for our process, right? With different categories and different ratings and different types of questions based upon, or combinations of questions based upon the information we're trying to uncover, right? So with that, there's that, and then you even have some physical limitations such as the file sizes that can be processed using the SharePoint knowledge source, and then even type limits. I mean, even though Microsoft Excel is extremely powerful, common file type that people work with all the time and is Microsoft's own thing, right? There's even problems really understanding Excel through Copilot and SharePoint as a knowledge source. And so anything you want to do to kind of help improve the SharePoint thing is definitely going to require extra settings and extra licensing and those kind of things, right? So we kind of looked at some alternatives too. And the big one that, of course, jumps out is Azure AI Search. Azure AI Search on it, in and of itself, is almost like a platform, right? It's a highly advanced search indexer, right? That uses AI. So already it's going to be able to learn from your content, right? It's going to understand context. It leveraging vector and semantic searching. And for those who may not know, like vector searching is generally where words are broken down and into what are called kind of tokens, right? And then those tokens are then turned into basically numbers. And so through kind of having these words kind of turned into numbers, then math and things like that can be used to determine the proximity of words to other words, now based upon context. And so pairing that with the semantic searching, which tends to be around language and understanding language and understanding the meaning and context of the user's query, kind of those pieces together helps the AI search really be able to deeply analyze the content and also what the user is really looking for. And to kind of give you a quick example, with vector and the semantic searching, right? If you go and search for something about Apple, right? Traditional keyword search is going to just look for things maybe like fruit or other fruits like pineapple or even maybe some associations like blueberries and things like that, right? But with vector and semantic searching, the nice thing about that and the AI part of that is that you now get, like I said, context. So if you search for apple, yes, it's going to be related to fruit, but it might be related now to sweet or red, right? Or delicious or food. And then on top of that, it may also know that there's a company called that, right? And now that it's connected Apple to a company, now it knows that there's properties around companies such as innovation and design and things like that, right? So now it kind of opens up the real understanding of those queries and the words and really what that means. The other thing about Azure AI Search is it is scalable. Like I mentioned, it's fast. It does handle the complex questions, right? Again, getting back to understanding the user's intent and what you pass to it. It like I said, it handles large data sets and types and even Excel, right? And then in and of itself, because it is kind of like a platform on its own, it actually can integrate with multiple data sources, right? And so the advantages of going that direction and now having Azure AI Search as our knowledge source for Copilot just really opened up a lot of doors.
Are we ready to move on to the architecture?
Yep.
Okay. Sounds good. We're going to move on to the architecture. So give me just a second. Alrighty here. So we're going to zoom in. So this is a diagram that I created. So let's just start from SharePoint, right? So this is where the user interface will interact. There's SharePoint bubble. We have the library and then SharePoint list here. And then let's go down here a little bit. This is where at the Azure environment is with Entra ID, the subscription, resource group, search service, service account, not service account, but storage account. And then moving up here. So the biggest container, which is where you would deploy the agent. So either M365 Copilot or Teams, for most of the time, that's where internal processes would get deployed to that type of channel. And then within that, we have the Power Platform solution. We're having this flow. And inside of Power Platforms, there is Copilot Studio. Inside of Copilot Studio, we have the flows, and this is a AI prompt. And there is using the search service. So talking about SharePoint, let me walk you through the whole architecture where users would upload the file, or not users, but I guess your business process already have the files on upload or created or modified. It would trigger a workflow to upload the file to Azure Blob Storage. Using a Power Automate flow, And we're going to go down here to, this is the storage account with a container. Inside a container, we have all these files, and each file is mapped with metadata. So the metadata here, we will have what vendor does this file belong to, and SP link is our SharePoint link. So then on the end user interface, the agent can just provide that link. The users can just click on that link to see the file. And then from that container, we can move to the search service. Within the search service, each index that you create, it creates 3 or 4 assets. So let's move in a little bit here. So we have the indexer. Let's just start with the indexer. So each time you want to re-index all of your data source, all the files with all the metadata, if you have a new file added, you would want to schedule it or manually trigger it to rerun everything again. So within the index, it comes with the data source, right? This is linked to our container with all the files. Within that, this is Azure OpenAI. So this is the model that you want to select for the embedding. So the embedding, that's what it creates, the text vectors here. The text vectors, like Joey was saying, this is the computer numbering of Apple is equals to, I don't know, all these numbers, 1.74, something like that. Creating all these numbering where the computer kind of understands this belongs to this type of category. And then within that, there's chunking. So this is where the scalability comes in. You can have as unstructured data as much as you can, or the bigger, doesn't matter how big your file is. It will chunk it down. Like one file could have 10 chunks, and each chunk have those text vectors. So it's splitting the file content into multiple items. So the skill set is where it does that. And that is where we map that metadata as well. Down here, vendor and SP link. And now we are going to show a little bit of, so this is our Azure AI. I guess we can go a little bit here. I'm going to pass the mic to Joey to talk about why did we choose Azure AI as the backbone.
All right, thanks, Isabel. Yeah, so as we mentioned kind of before, Azure AI Search is very powerful, right? It kind of overcomes some of the limitations of using SharePoint as a straight up knowledge source because it in and of itself is an AI-based platform. So it is already kind of applying some of those things and concepts to it, right? That Isabel's been talking about. So when we're talking about the SharePoint data, right? The SharePoint data related to Azure Search is again your list of documents, right? And so in order for AI Search to even know about those documents, one of the easiest way is if you would like to put content in a place where any of the Azure services, whether it's not just Azure AI, but any of the other services within the Azure platform need to get to it, a good place to put it is the blob storage, right? So in our case, right, we knew we were starting at the SharePoint level, and so we were going to have to potentially get these documents into the blob storage, right? So with that, being said, knowing that, okay, once we got it there, we could then go ahead and then start processing it with the AI search service, then we knew that we would have this rich background and index of content to be able to leverage when integrating with Copilot. So, so the metadata that we have within the Azure AI search here, that metadata does come from SharePoint. So we have a little bit of that information there. And then as what Isabel is kind of showing there is, these are the, I believe this is the index of Azure AI search or results you're getting back, right? So you can kind of see the vector information, right? That array of numbers that she was talking about. And again, that's, you know, definitely for computers, right? And the back end of everything, right? Converting that to everything down to numbers makes it a lot easier, right? That's why vector databases and everything are so powerful, is the fact that the computers themselves easily computate numbers and, you know, can apply mathematical formulas and things like that. And that's how, you know, we get that relationship too of reducing things down to numbers. You then are able to see the relationship of certain numbers to other numbers, right? That may or may not be normally readily obvious, right? When you're talking about something, you may not really pick up, or putting in a text query, right? You may not pick up the fact that this query could actually be interpreted as something else, which does give you greater information back, right? So that's where the vector database is really powerful. And it's really it's a common thing, right? It's not just unique to AI search. It is, you know, obviously a common way of doing processing things for AI and other you know, fast computational data returns. So
I also want to reiterate that the reason this is so important is that the JSON output is what is going to help Copilot Studio, or when I say Copilot Studio, that includes all the tools in there. So we can manipulate which file to select, which chunk that we need to answer some questions. I mean, I am going to provide some examples. So right now, I'm in the Search Explorer. Let's check out the fields, right? We talk about the vendor, which is what vendor is it? This is searchable. This is sortable, filterable, and an SP link, which is a SharePoint link that's only retrievable. So let's give an example instead of searching for Microsoft, right? Let's look at the results. The results 2,814. But what if I want to ask a question, right? So let me get that question right over here. And then we are going to view in a JSON view. So this is what it comes up. That's the search. But instead of just searching for Microsoft, I am just going to paste in, and I'm going to search what is the organization's risk if vendors business I can't speak English today, continuity and or disaster recovery plan fails. Let's search that and see how many search results is there. It's about 4,200. So this is without the filtering of which vendor this is. So if we were to add the vendor, it should, you know, narrow down our search. Well, hopefully that works. Let's see. So going from 4,000 something to 2,700, it narrows down almost half, I would say. And also there are rankings, right? The searching score, it will rank from the best to the least. And then we have the title here. Would you like to share anything else, Joey, before we move on to the Copilot Studio?
Yeah, I would actually like to, let's go ahead and show them kind of the SharePoint backend a
Okay.
bit. So that way they can kind of get a better understanding, because I know you pulled up some questions, and that's great, to kind of see it working against the index directly. But ultimately what we're talking about here is, from the side of where the content's coming from, right? We have a traditional, beautifully modern, right, SharePoint library here. Nothing wild and crazy. I'm sure a lot of organizations out there, even ones you guys are a part of, they probably have a lot more metadata, things like that. But in the context of this, right, we have documents in folders. It doesn't go too deep. One of the limitations with SharePoint directly as a knowledge source is if you do start to make the paths to get to files way too complicated by file folder after folder after folder, right? Those kind of things. That's where Copilot really tends to get tripped up by using SharePoint as a knowledge source, right? We have kept it simple, but at the same time, we are ultimately using Azure AI search, so some of those limitations really aren't there anymore. But again, just for simplicity, our structure is just one file deep, right, or one folder deep right now. But if you look at that, right, we have a bunch of documents here. They are all tagged with the vendor they're related to. So just because they're in the Salesforce folder doesn't necessarily mean it has to be Salesforce, right? You could organize it however you want, but the key here is the vendor. The vendor is the piece of metadata that's really going to come over to the Azure Blob storage that we'll talk about in a minute. I'll show you that in a minute, how we're getting it over there. But yeah, here in Blob storage, we've kind of recreated the folder structure fairly similarly. And so you'll look over here, we have, again, the same folders. Go ahead and click on one of those. And then here you have the list of the documents. And so if you look at the document, we do here on each document, we're tracking the vendor and the SP link. And the SP link, what that is that's literally the link of the document over in SharePoint, right? So that as AI search, when it does return results, even back to Copilot, right, you get a legitimate SharePoint link so that if you yourself wanted to go view that document, the source where it returned its information from, you could go get to it that way and peruse that document, right? So we wanted to make sure we preserved that to make it, as flexible and as user-friendly and powerful to the user as possible. All right. Yeah, go ahead and jump back to the SharePoint real quick. Yeah, great. Yeah, so looking at this, like I said, it's just a normal library, nothing, wild and crazy, right? And so, from this standpoint, right, knowing that this is the more comfortable user interface for end users, right? They can drag and drop their documents into this library very easily, right? Just like you normally do. You can drag it on top of the list. You could click the upload button, those kind of things, right? It allows them an easy way, of course, to put in that information. And in our case, right, like I've mentioned, most organizations already have libraries filled with documents, right? So we're not asking them to do anything different. We're just saying just use it. And then that's where this solution has come in and said, okay, knowing your existing structure, we're going to go ahead and, in using that, we're going to go ahead and just kind of build on top of that, pulling out what we need and putting it where we need it. And the way we do that to get it into blob storage is by leveraging Power Automate, right? So this is where we're kind of showing you, we're really using all facets of Power Platform and a lot of the different components of having M365. So if we take a look here at this flow, it's not a terribly complicated flow. It is going to trigger when the SharePoint list when a new file is created or modified. And the reason why we chose modified too is because if you decide you need to move a document around, if you at some point change your tagging, right, not just to vendors but other stuff, and you want to pick up new properties, then you can just on the SharePoint side, you can go in and update the metadata, and this flow would still trigger, still pushing it into the blob storage and those kind of things, right? Also, most people have multiple versions of PDFs, right? They like to every year, maybe they have an updated new version that has new verbiage, but they want to keep the same name. So they just overwrite on top of the document. Now the document content has changed. So they want to get in here and push the latest version of the document out there, right? So this handles all that. First thing it does is check to see if there's actually any blob metadata for that document. It uses the path of the document to figure out if it exists. If that comes back, yes, we have something, then we'll do an update. If there is nothing there, then what actually happens, that connector, for some reason, actually does an error. Instead of saying, hey, there's nothing found, it actually errors if it doesn't exist. So in handling the error output, we then can treat it as, okay, this blob doesn't exist, go ahead and create the blob, which is really the document, right? So after doing that, once we have a document in blob storage, then at that point, yeah, if you want to scroll down a little bit, so that's the update. Then what we do is we have to get a secure link to the document in blob storage, because in this case, we want to now push out the vendor and the SP link metadata. So in doing that, we have this action here that gets us that secure URL, and then we can use normal HTTP request actions to then go put the metadata there. And as you can see there, right, what we're sending is the metadata actually exists in the header. So what you do is you send the header, this ms dash meta dash, and then the name of the actual metadata property. So you can see there for this Google document, right, we're sending Google as the vendor and then the actual SharePoint link to that directly to that document. And so once that goes out there and puts the metadata there, then we just to kind of verify, hey, did it actually work? I mean, it might error, that kind of thing. You might get a different response code. But in our case, we just do another get to say, do we have the information? And again, because it returns it in the header, you can see there and look in the headers that, yes, we have that information. So we've said, go get the metadata, and now we get those same values we passed back. So that's how we're putting it into the blob storage and then putting the metadata on it.
Okay.
All right.
Well, sounds good. Let's just show a little bit of how it actually works. So let's start with the new one here. All right. So like I said before, this is a defined process. So show me the process steps. So these are the different type of process. And the user can just select, I want to do a business review. It will say, you have selected the business review step. Now I'm going to fetch all the questions. So all the questions with the process steps is back then in SharePoint as a list. With, does this document exist, true or false, a likelihood, impact. And then in this Copilot Studio, it's going to ask, which vendor are you talking about? So just for example, Adobe is not one of our vendors that we have. I can say Adobe. So the provided Adobe vendor is not found. Please enter a new one. And it would search, if I can spell. Let's do Microsoft. This is another topic about the vendor, and then a Power Automate flow that looks for that list to see Microsoft Corporations actually is a vendor that we're looking for. So in the back end here, there's vendors, a list of vendor names, and then we have this column is searchable, which means it has been indexed in Azure AI Search. Only these are available to be searchable. Right here is processing, analyzing, and this is just moving on to each different type of topics. So we have the true or false questions, likelihood, impact questions. For each type of question, it's going to go through the workflow and iterate through that process. So let me just show you really quick while it is getting, okay. So let's do something. Let's just show you the demo here. So this is the question that we have here. And then it's a unverifiable with all these links. Yes or no. And these are the answers. Sometimes this part, just the demo guys are not with us today. So it's going to ask you, do you want to stick with the same vendor or change it up? So just for one of our examples, we want to say, let's summarize this. Because I'm already selected for Microsoft, you're asking it to summarize financial risk indicators and note any control gaps. This is what it splits out. So this is on the back end is using Azure AI knowledge source at the end. So for the most of the time, we're using tools to check, to get the answers, to validate that vendor, and then create generative AI answers for the input. So in the knowledge source of the agent is a backup, just in case everything else does not align. Where did it go? Oh, there it is. There is that. Let me show you that workflow. I think it might be here. It already ran, so depending on what it is, right? So we have, this is a likelihood question. Let me edit this as well. We are running a little bit low on time, but let's go through this really quick. It will pass in a JSON array of the question and then what is the type of question that we're talking about. So this is the likelihood question. For each question, we are going to search using the vector and using that search question text. And then these are the chunks, and the chunks get passed on to a prompt that also, let's see if we can show the prompt. So this is one of the true or false question prompts with providing the inputs from Azure AI Search. I want you to answer those questions. Having a prompt, this is really grounded with another AI model that thinks about it. So this will provide more higher accuracy, one question with the exact data that we're looking for. Let me see. We are running low on time, like I said. So we talked about defining the process questions, finding the available vendors, reviewing the structure responses, and we can trace it by a link. So these are the business impacts that our clients see, up to 70% reduction in review time, scale without extra headcount, with a consistent evaluations and improving audit readiness.
Yeah, so really the lessons learned around all this, right, is, definitely clean data matters, right? In order for, not just even Copilot, but even the AI, right? You want to make sure you do have clean data, you've got good data, right? We've tagged it appropriately and those kind of things, and then pass that data on to the search indexer, right? And the chunking strategy is also very critical, right? Because when we're talking about dealing with potentially large documents, being able to chunk them and search them accurately is another major advantage here. And then really the metadata and the governance, right? Making sure that, again, you have the right information about the document and then the governance of all of that. Really, that's what really is going to drive the success for this, a solution like this, to really bring those business impacts, those positive business impacts, right, to the client.
So This session isn't about the tools, but it is about turning enterprise knowledge into trusted insights. So we have SharePoint is where it stores the truth. Azure AI Search understands it, and Copilot Studio and other things included as well, reasons over it. So this is how you scale judgment without losing control. And this
we're
is
right at time.
yeah, we're right at time for sure. Unfortunately, we don't have time for questions and answers.
But if you do need to,
we have time. We have time. There's no problem. No problem. So we have no questions for you. So, but Mirko, could you show some start? Yeah. So Steve said, great timing for this. I'm discussing this type of solution with a client right now. Is that your colleague?
Yes, I see.
I like
yes,
it.
we will have to talk about that.
Yeah, we'll need to definitely talk about this.
Then, but you have another fan. Hassan said, thanks for the session. I'm using Azure AI Search together with autonomous Copilot Studio agents. It's very powerful and production ready. Yeah, really cool.
That's cool.
Good, really good feedback for you. And here's a double fan. Mirko, could you show this second one? Yeah, great architecture, guys. Large language models struggle returning URLs. I really like how you use the flow, make this deterministic. Yeah, this is what I. Yeah, this is what I wanted to say too. No, so I have a question. So because it's a really bright scenario, I would say. You have integrated Azure Blob Storage, SharePoint, Copilot Studio, Power Automate. How do you monitor all these things to get an overview how it works well or not?
Sure. So, fortunately, Microsoft is getting better and better with providing things for us, right? So yeah, obviously there's a lot of moving pieces here, right? And so, we are at the moment kind of leveraging some of the built-in tools, right? Things like going into, the Power Platform, looking at the environment, checking on flow errors, those kind of things, getting error notifications if a flow did fail, right? Because really flow at this point is kind of the glue between SharePoint and the Azure Blob Storage, right? So if the flow doesn't work, we need to know about it. So there is that. There's definitely improvement that could be needed as far as monitoring goes, right? And so that's where that's probably going to be another topic we're going to have to work through. Is now that we have all these moving pieces, how do we effectively monitor it? But there are things that we can do within the Power Platform, especially where we can provide some error handling. We can do some checks. We could have other flows running to go monitor blob storage compared to SharePoint and those kind of things to make sure things are going where they need to go. So I'm not involved heavily on the Azure side. I do some, I dabble. So I'm sure there are definitely a bunch of things that I don't know about there, but.
And our solution is one way to do it, right? You don't have to do it this way. You don't have to use Azure AI Search now. Copilot API is coming out, but there are different type of license things you're willing to sacrifice for. What type of cost are you willing to pay for? How many users are we talking about? Which one that makes sense for your organization? It's really depends on your use case. So it's not this is the only way. You can do a bazillion ways that you want to do it, but analyze your costs and analyze your ROI.
Real quick, Isabel, looks like Steve had a quick question about what channel we deployed to.
We're deployed to Microsoft 365 Copilot and Microsoft Teams. That's what channels that we have pushed to.
So I have the last question because this is a view into the future. if
Yeah.
Microsoft release MCP server for SharePoint, do you want to reconfigure your solution?
It depends.
Yeah.
Does MPC have user experiences? I'm not 100% sure on the MPC side.
And the
Yeah,
old
so,
saying goes, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, right? So if it's working, I don't know. Yeah, but yes, I know. Yeah, I'm not exactly sure on that. We'd have to look into that. Yeah.
Okay. So for today, I think this was an amazing session. I think we see us soon, Isabel. We need to plan
Yes,
some
we
sessions for
will.
February and March. And yeah, Joey, it was nice to meet you.
You too.
Yeah, have a nice day. For you, it's the start of the day. Yeah, it's good. And yeah, and we see you soon. Bye-bye. Thank you.
All right.
Sounds good.
Take
Thank
care,
you.
everybody.
Take care. Bye, y'all.
Bye.
The Microsoft ecosystem is evolving faster than ever. Copilot, Power Platform, security, modern work, Azure AI, new features every week, new opportunities every day. But learning is scattered. Events are expensive, limited, and difficult to access. That changes now. Welcome to M365 Con, the world's largest online Microsoft 365 convention. 2 powerful weeks, 1 week of workshops, 1 week of free global talks and keynotes. Build your own learning path with expert-led workshops. From Power Platform to security, from Copilot to Azure AI, you choose what matters to you. Then join over 60 free sessions with most valuable professionals, Microsoft trainers, architects, and innovators from around the world. Meet the community, explore the virtual expo, connect with experts, and be part of a global Microsoft experience. Accessible, global, interactive, and designed for every Microsoft 365 professional. M365 Con, your community, your learning path, your Microsoft 365 future.